Good morning, everyone. We are here to bring you live coverage of the SpaceX Starship launch, which is now scheduled for 8:50 a.m. Eastern Time. The launch window opens up in 33 minutes. It's a 2-hour launch window, but SpaceX just posted a few minutes ago that they are shooting for 8:50 Eastern Time, 8:50 a.m. Oops, hang on one moment here. I saw one other thing I need to just make a note of here. Let me just make a note of this one thing. So I don't forget it. I might need this later. Let's see here. Hold on. One more second. There it is. Okay. Very well. Yes. Again, 8:50 a.m. is the updated launch time. 7:50 a.m. local time in South Texas. But SpaceX said now targeting 7:50 a.m. Central Time for the launch of Starship's fourth flight test. And then I believe that SpaceX will go live with their stream a half an hour before launch time. So in like 52 minutes. So we're going to hang out for a little while and tell you if we hear any updates and talk about SpaceX Starship and take your comments on the air. At Lookner is where you can reach me. And I welcome all of you to the broadcast. Hey, thanks to our new member, Dimitri. And thanks also to Rob Van Roy for the gift membership. And thanks to all of our moderators who are with us. We have... Hang on a moment. Bright and early today, 7:29 a.m. my time. We're not on the air that much at this time of day, but happy to be here to cover this. Hang on one moment, just getting some things on the screen. Idaho Star and Papa Bear, they're on Twitch moderating. Thank you. Thanks so much. Oops, I'm hearing two of myself. Hey, Kay Lowry Body is moderating too, and Margaret Riley. Thank you for modding over there. Aspen English says it's too early. Well, I didn't make the launch time. Let's see. So hopefully, I don't know why. Originally, the launch window was from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern. And then last night, Elon Musk, who runs SpaceX, he posted that it was going to be 8:20 a.m. Eastern Time. And then... And then about 20 minutes ago, SpaceX said now targeting 8:50 a.m. Eastern Time. So I don't know, I have no information on why it moved from 8:20 to 8:50. I can't tell you that. Does that mean that something's up? Are they dealing with some sort of issue? Does that make it more likely that there'll be a scrub of the launch today? Things can change. SpaceX says weather conditions are 95% favorable. In their post from 20 minutes ago, they said weather conditions are 95% favorable. So it doesn't sound like it's the weather. No, this is not a manned flight. We'll talk about the flight. It's not manned. Black Widow says it's because launch windows can change. I'm not aware that the launch window has changed. I mean, I'm not sure, but I thought launch window had to do, with where the Earth will be at a certain point in time. So again, it's interesting. I don't know. Is it a weather issue, says Matt? I mean, could it be that the weather is going to be better than at some point during the launch window than worse? I can't tell you. There was no detail given. It's an interesting theory. Somebody says, how long till launch? I guess the person was not able to see my headline here. Gary Eckert says launch window is mandated by FAA. I know they have to clear stuff through the proper authorities. Aleppo says maybe fog or clouds. I haven't seen any reporting on, I personally have not seen reporting on why the launch, which Elon Musk had said last night was going to be set for 8:20, has been bumped to 8:50. No, this is not another satellite release. This is something different. We're going to talk about this. So the SpaceX Starship, this is not one of these SpaceX launches where they send up a bunch of, satellites for their internet system. SpaceX Starship is a spacecraft, a space launch vehicle that SpaceX is developing. It's supposed to take astronauts to the moon in 2026, but SpaceX wants to be able to use this to take people to Mars and beyond, they say. Also, this is supposed to be a fully reusable system. So it consists of the top part, which is the SpaceX Starship spacecraft, and then the bottom part, which is the super heavy rocket booster, which is the biggest, the most powerful rocket ever built or ever flown. So the idea is that both of these parts, that top part, which is where the astronauts would be if there were astronauts, and the big bottom part, which is the rocket booster, both of those parts are supposed to be reusable. And this is the 4th test flight. And what SpaceX is focusing on this test flight is the reusability. They want both of these parts, the big bottom rocket booster and the Starship top part, they want both of those to make re-entry today successfully. So that was going to be the focus today. That's supposed to be the focus today, is that reuse, that re-entry of both parts of the whole thing. And we'll see if that happens. I'll tell you what they have to say about it. So this is the 4th test flight. You can see this is from Wikipedia here. They say Starship is a 2-stage super heavy launch vehicle under development. It is the largest and most powerful rocket ever flown. Its primary objective is to lower launch costs significantly via economies of scale. This is achieved by reusing both rocket stages, the smaller top part and the larger bottom part. Reusing both rocket stages, increasing payload mass to orbit, increasing launch frequency, creating a mass manufacturing pipeline, and adapting it to a wide range of space missions. It has 2 stages, as I told you, the super heavy rocket booster on the bottom and the Starship spacecraft on the top. Both stages are equipped with Raptor engines, more on the bottom stage than in the top stage. Uh, mm, After boosting the spacecraft, the Super Heavy booster, that big bottom stage, uses its engines to slow down before being caught by a pair of mechanical arms attached to the launch tower. That's what's supposed to happen. After completing its mission, the top Starship spacecraft part re-enters the atmosphere, following a belly flop maneuver where the spacecraft turns from a horizontal to a vertical orientation and then slows to a hover with its engines. So that's today, the goal is to get both of these stages back, re-entering successfully. As SpaceX puts it, they say that the focus for this fourth flight test is on demonstrating the ability to return and reuse Starship, the Starship spacecraft, and the Super Heavy rocket booster. The primary objectives of today are executing a landing burn and soft splashdown in the Gulf of Mexico with the Super Heavy booster and achieving a controlled entry of Starship. So that's the idea for today. But it is currently 7:39 a.m. The launch is currently scheduled for 8:50 a.m. And the SpaceX live broadcast, which we will have access to via Reuters, is set to start, I think, at 8:20 a.m. Eastern Time. This is all Eastern Time. So I'm going to take some comments and questions from you guys. So I don't have any footage I can show you yet, but I will have footage when they start their broadcast. This is an unmanned mission today. Eventually it's going to be manned, but it is unmanned test flight today. I don't believe any of the 4 test flights, any of the 3 previous ones have been manned. XRS99 says it will be simulated landings in the sea today. Yes, the booster is going to land in the Gulf of Mexico if everything goes well. And the Starship is going to, I don't know where the Starship is going to be. I have to look that up. Let's see if it says. Starship. Does it say here? Yeah, Starship and Super Heavy are both making water landings today. David Jack says Starship will land in the Indian Ocean. I thought I had read that, but I can't find it. Did SpaceX's site update? Their site updated? Hang on. Hold on. I don't believe they've posted any kind of official. Let me see. Oh no, what SpaceX's site says is they say that their webcast is starting at, it says 8:10 a.m., which I assume is Eastern time. So, I mean, that would make sense. They had said they're starting their webcast 30 minutes before launch time. Maybe they'll start at 40 minutes before launch time, because 8:10 a.m. Eastern time would be 40 minutes before launch time. If they're talking Eastern time. Yeah, they had the latest update from SpaceX is that it's 8:50 a.m. launch time is what they're targeting, Eastern time. They have not posted an update after that. No, the booster is not, it's doing a water landing. It's not, as far as I'm aware, they're not actually trying to fully recover the booster, have it land on land or some kind of platform or something. I don't think, because I'm on their website and they say that that the Super Heavy will make a soft splashdown in the Gulf of Mexico. That doesn't sound like landing on a platform to me. Hang on a second here. What site are you guys looking at for? I was just looking at their website. Are people looking at like their YouTube page? Someone said they saw it says 9:10 a.m. But hang on a second here. Mine says 8:10 a.m. Yeah, they're not live yet. Anyways, again, regardless of what the time the live stream is on the site, the latest they have officially released is 8:50 a.m. Eastern launch time, which would suggest around 8:20 a.m. Eastern time is when they're about a half an hour when their live stream would start. Oh, you know what? Gunnar reminds me. SpaceX is only live streaming to X today, because they had said that. So they're not. They have a YouTube channel, but I don't believe they're live streaming on their channel to YouTube, because they had said, SpaceX, that they're exclusively. I think Elon Musk posted that it's exclusively streaming on X. Yeah, he said, Elon Musk said the Starship launch will be live streamed exclusively on X, but I will have access to it through Reuters. Guys, we're covering one thing at a time. We're not covering D-Day because we're covering this. Also, generally speaking, I think it's interesting, but I don't cover the D-Day anniversary. It's not really what this channel does. It's not really breaking news. I mean, it's an important event, but it's not really what the channel does. Hold on a second here. Oh, thanks, by the way, to Kristen McConnell Gates for the Facebook stars. Thanks so much, Kristen. By the way, I do see one subscriber badge. Facebook has managed to really mess up the whole subscriptions thing. But I can see Marie Minicello's subscriber badge. That's something. They really messed up a bunch of subscriber stuff. And you guys, I could do a 24-hour stream on how terrible Facebook's customer service is. I'm not going to, but believe me, I could. I've been trying to get them to fix this for 2 weeks now. It is really incredible. You would not believe just the kind of messages I get from their customer service. You write them about something, and then they write you back, and the suggestion it's like they didn't even read your email. It seems like it makes it seem like it's all automated because you're literally getting things back which have nothing to do with what you wrote to them. It's really incredible. Anyways, but we're not going to do that stream. But I'm sorry about the whole subscriptions craziness on Facebook. Yeah. Dimitri says you're probably talking to AI. I did have a phone call with them, which I don't think was AI. And they said they were going to fix it, and then nothing ever happened. Anyways, let's see. Let me see if I have any updates for you. But again, we will have coverage. We'll have the SpaceX live coverage as soon as SpaceX starts their live coverage. The Starship team is go for prop load. So this is an update that just came out from SpaceX 2 minutes ago. SpaceX posted the SpaceX Starship team is go for, I believe that's propellant load. They said prop load. So things are progressing. News update. SpaceX says that they're a go for propellant load. David Jack says prop load is propellant load fuel for those wondering. So, according to the website on SpaceX, they say that propellant load, ship fuel load, liquid methane, takes place 49 minutes before liftoff, they say. So they just said it's a go for propellant load. But according to their website, ship fuel load takes place 49 minutes before liftoff, which makes sense. I mean, it's basically an hour before the scheduled start time right now. It is launching from Starship SpaceX Starbase in Boca Chica, Texas. That's where it's launching from. Anita is watching from Norway. Anita and her son, Anita Amali Foss. Thanks for watching. So this flight today, hang on a second here. This will be the 4th test flight. Now, according to Wikipedia, they say, hang on one second. Now, it's a little weird. Wikipedia says on their site that when they talk about upcoming flights, they claim that B-11, which I think is the booster, will attempt a landing on a virtual tower. But on the SpaceX website, it said it's going to do a soft landing, a splashdown in the Gulf of Mexico. So maybe they do have some sort of platform sitting in there in the Gulf of Mexico that they're going to try to use. It's a little confusing. But Wikipedia says that B-11 will attempt a landing on a virtual tower in preparation for a catch during the 5th flight test, which is supposed to be the 5th flight test, according to Wikipedia, is supposed to be in late June. Ricardo Galvin says perhaps a simulated platform, it'll still fall in the ocean. Yeah, maybe they just have some buoys out there or something. Oh, Gary Eckert believes the virtual tower is the ocean, no actual platform. Ashley HD says no platforms last time. The Ringa X says the virtual tower means pretend as if there is a tower out there. Okay. All That's Random says soft landing means pretend to land on a surface, but it'll really be the sea. So again, this is we're talking about the SpaceX Starship, which is the new space launch vehicle that SpaceX is developing. It's supposed to make moon flights for NASA starting in 2026. Yes, they say that the Starship will land astronauts on the moon as part of the Artemis program, starting with Artemis 3 in 2026. SpaceX wants to be able to take people to Mars and beyond. It is an entirely reusable system. It's designated to be. It has the top Starship launch vehicle part. No, the top Starship spacecraft part, the smaller part at the top, and the big super heavy rocket booster on the bottom, which is the biggest rocket ever flown. Most powerful rocket ever flown. And both stages are designed to be reusable, and today the focus is on doing a re-entry of both stages. So they want these stages to not get destroyed during the flight. They want the booster to come back down and do some sort of, I guess, a simulated controlled landing on the water. And then they want the top stage, the Starship stage, the Starship spacecraft stage, to do a re-entry, a successful re-entry into the atmosphere, which it has not done yet. Joe Masello says huge payload capacity. You can see here it says in Wikipedia, the rocket has been designed with the goal of being fully reusable to reduce launch costs. It consists of the Super Heavy first stage booster and the Starship spacecraft. The spacecraft is 165 feet tall. Now remember, Boeing Starliner did its launch yesterday of this space capsule. It's a spacecraft, the Starliner, but the Starliner is much smaller than the Starship. The Starliner is about 16 feet tall. This is 165 feet tall. Yes, 30 feet in diameter, it says. SpaceX Starship. This is from Wikipedia. By the way, this picture here, just to give credit, this picture here is from, I think this one is from Dima Lopatin 1999 at Wikimedia Commons. And this one is from, where is it here? Where's the other one? Jenny Houtman at Wikimedia Commons. This spacecraft right here is designed to transport both crew and cargo to a variety of destinations, including Earth orbit, the Moon, Mars, and beyond. It is intended to enable long-duration interplanetary flights for a crew of up to 100 people. Again, it is intended to enable long-duration interplanetary flights for a crew of up to 100 people. The Boeing Starliner that launched yesterday can hold up to 7. It also, in theory, will be capable of point-to-point transport on Earth, enabling travel to anywhere in the world less than an hour. That's a goal, at least. And it can be used to refuel other Starship vehicles to allow them to reach higher orbits and other space destinations. Okay, so it is 7:57. As far as I'm aware, the launch is still set for 8:50, and the SpaceX broadcast and the Starship is a go for propellant load. So I'm assuming they're already loading propellant. And the weather is 95% favorable for launch. And if everything stays on schedule, in about 23 minutes, the SpaceX live stream will start, and we'll have access to that live stream. Okay? So as soon as I have video I can show you, I'll show it to you. Believe me. Oh, hold on. Ooh. No, it's not started yet. I'm looking for the, I don't have access to it yet. As soon as I have access to their, as soon as they start broadcasting their live stream, I'll get it up on the screen for you. There are no people inside it today. Steffi says we will need this for the apocalypse. How fast does it go? Orbital velocity, I believe, is over 17,000 miles an hour. Does it say here anything? Yeah, I do know that when it's orbiting, well, I guess that's low Earth orbit. I don't know how fast it can go in theory, but Melody J says 17,500. Where is it here? I mean, I found a article from March from Al Jazeera where they say that according to Elon Musk, one of the objectives of the initial flights was to get Starship to orbital velocities, which are about 17,500 miles per hour. According to the SpaceX website, the propellant load would complete like around 3 minutes before launch. Oh, I'm sorry. So you know what? They say that first the propellant load starts, the fuel starts to get loaded into the top part, the ship. And then 9 minutes later, it starts getting both loaded into the booster. And just a few minutes before just about 3 minutes before takeoff, that's when the propellant finishes loading into both the top part, the Starship, and the booster on the bottom. They load both fuel, liquid methane, and they say LOX, and liquid oxygen also into the ship, the Starship spacecraft, and the booster. So the idea is SpaceX is a private company, but NASA uses them to do some stuff. NASA already uses the SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule and also a SpaceX rocket of some sort, I believe, to launch astronauts to the International Space Station. And similarly, SpaceX is planning on using this Starship to start taking people to the moon in 2026. But then SpaceX can use it for other things. quick thank you, by the way, to, hey, big thanks to Nick Fain. Thanks so much, Nick, for your support. I really appreciate that, Nick. Thank you. All right, so it's 8:02. So in about 18 minutes, SpaceX should start its live stream if everything's on schedule. 18 minutes. And then we can show you that. Oh, how long is this test flight supposed to be today? That I forget. Does it say? I had read about this. Somebody in the chat probably knows. I thought I had read something about this. Marvin says roughly 1 hour. Thomas Hayden says, oh, I think I have it here. I have it. I have it here. Yes. About an hour and 5 minutes or so. So what they say on the website is, after liftoff, the big bottom rocket booster part, super heavy, that is supposed to land back on Earth roughly 7 minutes after liftoff. But Starship will take longer to get back. Starship will start re-entry, it looks like about 47 minutes in. It says Starship entry about 47 minutes in. And Starship, it says landing flip 105:38, landing burn. Or no, maybe I'm wrong about that. I'm sorry. For the 47 minutes is wrong. They say landing flip and landing burn 105. So it looks like it's supposed to start the re-entry, makes its landing flip and landing burn 1 hour and 5 minutes in. And then I guess that's when it's making re-entry and hopefully surviving re-entry. I'm a little confused on the but they say landing flip at 105 and landing burn at 105. Marvin says Starship entry is when it starts to re-enter through the atmosphere. But it's over an hour and 5 minutes if everything goes well. That's according to their own website. Okay, MT the First says landing flip and landing burn is just 10 seconds before touchdown. Oh, so the flip is, I'm sorry. So the flip is not, I was a little confused. You're saying that the flip is not before it starts re-entering through the atmosphere. You're saying the flip is right at the end, you're saying. I see what you're saying. Okay. That's what, I forget who said that to me, but somebody just said that. That makes sense. I was confused. I was thinking it would do, but when they were talking about a flip, they were talking about reorienting it before it actually started making re-entry. Let me see here. Blah, 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 blah. The website Everyday Astronaut says that the flip will occur at about 1,600 feet in altitude. Okay. So yes, that flip would occur before it lands right at the end. So roughly speaking, the flight should take, if everything works well, so you have the whole thing takes off, and then roughly 7 minutes after it takes off, the big rocket booster will land back on Earth, today in the Indian Ocean, but it's going to make a controlled landing, as if it was landing like on a platform or something, or on land. But it's not today, hopefully. And then that's 7 minutes in, and then an hour and 5 minutes in is when, if the Starship has survived re-entry, it will land in a controlled manner. But I believe today it's supposed to be landing in the Gulf of Mexico. No. Did I get the Gulf of Mexico? Here, I can tell you. Did I get Gulf of Mexico confused with Indian Ocean? Today, no, Indian Ocean is, Starship itself is going to be in the Indian Ocean. No, now I'm confused. Let's see. There's 2 water landings. Oh, I'm all confused. They say Starship is, yes, I got it, right. So the Super Heavy booster is going to splash down in the Gulf of Mexico. That's definitely the case. And then Starship is going to splash down in the Indian Ocean. That's what it is. The booster in the Gulf of Mexico, Starship in the Indian Ocean. If everything is on schedule, in 10 minutes, the SpaceX live stream will start. Yeah, I was looking at the SpaceX website, but the diagram itself doesn't identify the water. You have to read the text. Hey, thanks, Janet Burnett. I really appreciate that, Janet Burnett. Thank you. All right, let me take some more comments and questions from you guys. In about 10 minutes, we should have the SpaceX live stream. Dark Cloud says, gentle landing, no splash. Yeah, I'm going to post a link to the SpaceX site about the description of the launch. SpaceX description of launch, of test flight. I just posted the link in the chat for you, if you haven't seen it. The SpaceX stream is live? Oh, so I don't have it yet because it's not live from... Hold on a second here. Let me see something. Hang on. I get it, I think, a half hour before takeoff, before liftoff. The SpaceX stream is live? It's not live on their X account. I'm on their X account. And I'm on Reuters. And it's not live on either of those places. Where are you seeing it? Refresh it is live. I'm literally at their X account. Yeah, guys, so some people are watching, some YouTube channels have their own cameras. They're not showing you the SpaceX's feed. They're showing you their own cameras. Okay? Because there's a couple of YouTube channels that I'm keeping an eye on, but they're not the official SpaceX channel. They have their own cameras, it looks like. I'm not aware that SpaceX's official feed has started. Because again, I'm looking at their X account. It's only supposed to be on X. It's not there. I'm looking at Reuters, which has it, and it's not there. Oh, at the SpaceX website. Okay, that's different. Hang on a second. Because it's not on their X account yet. No, I just went to the SpaceX website and I went to watch and it hasn't started yet. So no. So everybody's saying, everybody who's in the chat screaming at me that it's live on SpaceX is wrong. You're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. Hey, thanks Janet Burnett for the gift memberships. Yes, as Vintage 50 says, they go live 30 minutes before launch. That's what they do. That's what they said they do. It literally said, they literally posted an hour ago, the webcast will go live around 30 minutes before launch. That's what they said. It's not 30 minutes before launch yet. It's 37 minutes before launch. Hey, let me say a quick thanks to our moderators who are here. And hang on a moment here. Really appreciate our moderators. Thanks for your help and for being here. Danny James is here. Hey, Danny, thanks. Also, we have Idaho Star, Big Ball of Yarn, I Got That Fire, and Papa Bear. Thank you so much. Also, speaking of Twitch, where those mods are, thanks to Moontaze for subscribing and Buzzy D for subscribing. I really appreciate that. Also, thanks to Margaret Riley for moderating on Facebook. Kay Lowry Body, thanks for being there. And thanks Linda Belk and Larry who moderate for us on X. Eggy says, yes. So they have started on X 1 minute ago, but it's just their logo. Okay? So they literally just started on X 1 minute ago. Which means that all of you who said it was on X 10 minutes ago are wrong. And they say propellant load of the booster is underway. They say. As soon as they actually start showing the actual live feed, they're doing like this kind of pre-recorded graphics package. I will have it for you shortly. I have to wait till Reuters starts showing it. Once Reuters starts showing it, I can show it. I think Reuters might start showing it once they actually start doing the broadcast. Right now, it's like an initial graphics package. Thanks to Sharon Heberling for watching. Oh, sorry. Ooh, why am I so loud? Hold on. I got it. I can't play the music, but I got it. I got it, guys. We got it. Can't play the music, though. Hey, guys, check it out. There it is. There is the SpaceX live shot, but it's not, it's kind of the pre-recorded stuff right now. You can see. This is via Reuters that I'm showing you this. And I can't play the sound yet because it's all copyrighted music, I would assume. It's definitely music. All right. Oh, I gotta post this as well, just in case there's any confusion. Oh, there's the countdown clock right there. See? Oh, hold on.
Quarters in Hawthorne, California. As you can tell, the crowd is getting excited behind us. We're here in front of Mission Control Center. Now, we are targeting liftoff at 7:50 a.m. Central Time in just over 30 minutes from now. It's been roughly 2.5 months since our last Starship flight test, and the turnaround time between these tests just keeps getting shorter and shorter.
Today, we hope to surpass what we achieved in Flight Test 3 in March. Our primary goal is to get through the extreme heat of Starship reentry, which is no easy feat. As with all of our flight tests, our goal is to collect as much data as possible. Every flight gets us another step closer to a fully operational Starship. Starship is the most powerful vehicle ever developed and the first design of a rocket that is capable of making life multiplanetary.
Starship will allow us to land humans on the moon again after more than half a century, fly the heaviest payloads ever flown, and ultimately fly humans further into space than ever before. Getting there will require us to fly frequently, which is why we're producing so fast. We already have hardware built and are preparing for our next several flights.
But the most important thing about Starship is that it's designed to be fully and rapidly reusable, and of course, reliable. We've been designing from day one to realize a vision of having an entire city of people on Mars, something we know will take launching millions of pounds of cargo and equipment into space spread across thousands of launches.
The faster we can learn now, the faster we can improve and evolve Starship to achieve this vision. And that brings us to today's flight test, the fourth of many that will get us one step closer to Mars. But before we dive into the details of today's test, let's do a quick rewind and talk about our last integrated flight test, Flight 3. On March 14th, Starship successfully lifted off at 8:25 a.m. Central Time from Starbase, Texas. It cleared the launch tower and went on to accomplish several major milestones and firsts. All 33 Raptor engines on the Super Heavy booster started up successfully and completed a full duration 2-minute and 41-second ascent burn.
Then we saw our second ever hot stage separation, powering down all but 3 of Super Heavy's Raptor engines and then igniting the ship's 6 Raptors to create separation. Next, Super Heavy completed its flip maneuver and ignited the 13 center engines for the boost back burn to send it towards its splashdown point in the Gulf of Mexico. All 13 engines ran successfully until 6 engines began shutting down, triggering an early end to the boost back.
After descent, we attempted the first ever Super Heavy landing burn, which uses the same 13 center engines that we used on boost back. Since 6 of those experienced the early shutdown in the boost back burn, we attempted the landing burn with the remaining 7 Raptors, and 2 of those 7 reached main stage ignition. In the end, contact was lost with the booster at approximately 462 meters in altitude over the Gulf of Mexico, just under 7 minutes into the mission.
Post-flight data reviews showed that the early boost back burn shutoff was most likely caused by filter blockage where oxygen is supplied to the engines. We saw a similar issue on Flight 2 and had added hardware to mitigate it, which worked to get us to our first ever landing burn attempt.
Now for today's flight, we upgraded those filters further and made some additional hardware and software changes to increase our chances of igniting all 13 engines for the landing burn. Now turning back to the Flight 3 ship, we saw all 6 Raptor engines start successfully and powered the vehicle to space, marking the first time we completed its full ascent burn.
While coasting, we completed some additional objectives, including the opening and closing of the payload door. We also transferred propellant between tanks inside the ship, which is a key test as we prepare for full ship-to-ship prop transfers in the future. Once we were into our coast, though, the ship gradually lost the ability to control its attitude or orientation, which is done with smaller thrusters around the spacecraft.
As a result, the vehicle experienced some unplanned rolling. It still flew on the planned trajectory, but losing attitude control triggered the flight computer to skip a planned relight of a single Raptor engine while on orbit. And then the moment that we all had been looking forward to for so long, as you can see here, the ship's re-entry from space. This was the first time that we were able to get real live flight data on things like heating and vehicle control during hypersonic re-entry, of which we will talk more about later.
Not having attitude control meant both protected and unprotected areas saw heating much higher than anticipated. But we were able to get live, high-definition views and real-time data during entry thanks to Starlink terminals on the ship, which itself was a widely successful test. This gave us confidence that we'll continue to get unparalleled insight into the ship's re-entry in order to rapidly improve.
And as they say, all good things must come to an end. And for Flight 3, this occurred when contact with the ship was lost at approximately 65 kilometers in altitude, roughly 50 minutes into the mission. After reviewing data from the flight, we found the most likely cause of the unplanned rolling seen during the ship coast phase and reentry phase was blockage of valves that help control the smaller attitude control thrusters.
We upgraded these to make them more resilient and added some additional thrusters for redundancy. Overall, we learned a tremendous amount from that last flight, and capping it off with those re-entry views was truly an exciting end to the mission.
Incredible.
So back to today's test. Today's mission profile is similar to Flight 3, but we have new test objectives, the first of which is getting through the extreme heat of re-entry.
Re-entry.
About 27 minutes from now, Super Heavy will ignite its 33 Raptor engines and lift off from Starbase. A little more than 2.5 minutes into flight, the Super Heavy booster will separate from the ship in a hot stage separation, meaning that it'll light its engines while still attached to a partially lit booster. The booster will perform a flip maneuver, followed by a boost back burn. About 2 seconds after that burn ends, we'll jettison the booster's hot stage. As it heads back to Earth, the booster will attempt a landing burn before splashing down into the Gulf.
Meanwhile, the ship's engines will remain lit for just under 6 minutes during its ascent before shutting down for the coast phase. The ship will coast for about 40 minutes or so, reaching a peak altitude of 214 kilometers. And after its coast phase, the ship will attempt a controlled re-entry, including a flip maneuver and a landing burn before splashing down in the Indian Ocean. Now, we say attempting because, again, this is a test and nothing is guaranteed. As we mentioned earlier, the booster and the ship have to contend with some extreme conditions on re-entry.
For this flight test, we do not plan to recover any hardware from the booster or the ship. With the exception of Falcon, this is no different than what happens to most rockets flying today that are expended or fall into the ocean after completing their mission. Eventually, we will land and recover Starship boosters and ships as we do today with Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy boosters. And in fact, we've landed 316 Falcon boosters to date.
Even though recovery is not planned, the telemetry and data we receive all the way to the end is what we're looking for, which will help us continue to build a rapidly reusable Starship for the future. In other words, the payload for this mission is data. It's also worth mentioning that the hot stage jettison is an off-nominal procedure that we're using as a temporary way to reduce the weight of the vehicle for its water landing today.
Yeah, exactly. Future designs give Super Heavy boosters a lighter weight, integrated hot stage intended for full reusability, which will mitigate the need to jettison the hot stage. Okay, so now that we have a handle on today's flight test, let's check in with Dan. Dan, how's it going?
Hey, Jesse, and welcome everybody back to Starbase for yet another Starship launch. I'm coming to you live from the Raptor's nest behind the Mega Bay. I'm here with our Pad Red team and some of our flight controllers this morning. Everything has been going really smooth. We did have the Red team going a little bit earlier to fix a ground side issue, but that was taken care of. That's why we slid a little bit later into our window. But as of right now, we are on track for liftoff at 7:50 a.m. Central Time. That's 12:50 UTC. As you can see, we are actively loading propellant onto Starship and Super Heavy. Those frost lines are ticking up as we load liquid methane, that's our fuel, liquid oxygen, that's our oxidizer, onto both vehicles. They're cryogenic, so they're subcooled to several hundred degrees below zero. Since Flight 3, we've made a few more upgrades, helping to bring Prop Farm 2.0 online. That's just going to help us to continue to shorten the amount of prop load time that we're going to need. We're also going to be using it for Launch Tower number 2, which is going to be coming to Starbase real soon. The faster we go, the less prop we're going to lose to boil off, and the better we can ensure things like temperatures are in the right range for Raptor startup. Now, those first 2 flights took about 90 minutes to load prop on board. That third, we knocked it all the way down to just 51 minutes. We're aiming for about 46 minutes of prop load time for today's op, eventually hoping to get that down all the way to 40, which for some context, that's just 5 minutes more than we take to load Falcon 9, but we're doing it with 10 times the amount. So this morning, ship prop load started at T-minus 50 minutes, booster at T-minus 43 minutes. We're going to pause the ship main tank prop load in just a couple of minutes to do the header tanks, which are going to do that attempted ship landing burn. We expect the ship to close out all of its prop at about 3 minutes and 20 seconds before liftoff, and then booster at about 2:50. Now, our final countdown sequence is going to look very familiar. It's going to be the exact same as it was on flights 2 and 3. So we'll light those engines, and then about 4 seconds later, we will actually see it lift off. But I mean, right now, we are just under 23 minutes away from launch. We're not working any issues either with the vehicle, the range. Weather is 95% go, so not dealing with any winds or weather issues today. If we do have to scrub, our next attempt would probably be about 48 hours from now. It's all going to be driven by commodities and just how far we get into the count. But everything looking good for liftoff just about 22 and a half minutes from now. I'll check back in with you guys in a few minutes, and I'll send it back over to Kate and Jesse.
Excellent. Thanks, Dan. Flight tests like today are the fastest possible route for us to dramatically improve Starship's capability.
All right, I'll go back to the audio in a second. First of all, I just want to say a quick thanks to Crispy and Kenneth Colton for your support. Thank you so much. So we are here. We're bringing you live coverage of this SpaceX Starship launch. It is the 4th test launch of this SpaceX Starship launch vehicle, which consists of, I was just going to say it, the Starship top part, the Starship spacecraft, and the Super Heavy rocket booster. Super Heavy is the most powerful rocket ever flown, and this is supposed to bring people to the moon starting in 2026. SpaceX hopes that it will bring people to Mars and beyond. And today, the goal of this test flight today is really to work on, this is all designed to be reusable. So they want both of these stages to come back down and do controlled landings today, both on the water. They're not going to actually recover these 2 stages today, but they want both of these to be brought back successfully and do controlled landings. So we'll see if that actually happens. The booster would land on the water roughly 7 minutes after takeoff, and the Starship, the Starship spacecraft would make its landing around 1 hour and 5 minutes after takeoff. So it is not a manned flight today. It is not a manned flight. By the way, I did want to give you a really quick update. Yesterday we covered the Boeing Starliner launch. That is a spacecraft which is designed to bring humans to low Earth orbit. And the Starliner is supposed to rendezvous with the International Space Station. I want to say around 12:15 today. I don't think we're going to be covering that, but it is supposed to do that. And there are, I believe, multiple helium leaks that have been detected on the Starliner, but those are not going to prevent it docking with the International Space Station. How those helium leaks might affect its flight plan for its overall mission plan, I don't know. I've been posting some stuff about it on my X account as I see it. You can go to my X account at Lookner on X if you want to check that out. So I am keeping my eye on that. If I have any big breaking news on that, I will let you know. But in spite of the reported helium leaks detected, that Boeing Starliner spacecraft is going to be docking today with the International Space Station. But we're focusing on SpaceX right now. I'm going to get you back to the audio. I'm going to bet you back to the audio for this. 19 minutes till launch.
Significantly reduces the cost of space travel, and it's the key to making humans a multi-planet species. Starship is designed for rapid reusability, which means the booster and the ship need to re-enter Earth's atmosphere and land back precisely at the launch site.
With each flight test, we gather more and more data to help hone Starship's re-entry capabilities. The more information we have from each flight, the quicker Starship...
No, this is not a manned test flight today. This is a non-manned test flight. No people on board.
Blackout.
To do this, we equipped Starship with Starlink terminals to expand its communication capabilities. The Starlink terminals are those 4 black squares.
All right, they're just talking about some of this stuff.
Starlink is the world's largest constellation of highly advanced satellites.
I am looking at the chat and looking for your updates as well. John Turpin says, is Elon Musk going to be at the launch? I'm guessing he'll be launching the launch. I don't know if he's in Texas or somewhere else. I don't know where he is right now, so I'm not sure.
At about 27,000 kilometers per hour, or almost 17,000 miles per hour. Starship compresses the air in front of it, causing the temperature of the air to rise and ionize, turning it into plasma. This plasma layer interferes with communications by absorbing and reflecting radio waves, leading to the communications blackout we've seen historically with spacecraft during atmospheric reentry. With Starship, most of that plasma is built up around the front and sides of the vehicle, leaving an opening downstream where we're able to point our Starlink terminals. And with Starlink also operating at a higher frequency than traditional space-based communications, we're able to power through any residual plasma to provide real-time video and data at high speeds back to the ground.
Super cool. We actually got to see this in action on Starship's last test, Flight 3, which had the first ever live HD video of a...
So really quick, I just saw an update from SpaceX. SpaceX just posted 7 minutes ago. They said the payload for these test flights is data. Building upon what we achieved during Starship's third test flight, our primary goal today is to get through the extreme heat of reentry. They want that. They want the Starship spacecraft, I believe, the top part, to be able to survive reentry, which it did not last time.
Ever flown with 4 movable flaps like what we use for aerodynamic control. Starship's greatest strength will be rapid and reliable reusability, and Starlink has become a critical tool to make that a reality.
Over the next few flights, we'll continue to improve the Starlink performance on Starship, eventually enabling more views and enabling more data to be transmitted in real time. And we'll keep experimenting during entry. You might have noticed a few tiles missing or looking different near the bottom of Starship. We intentionally placed 1 thin tile and removed 2 tiles completely. In their place, we now have sensors to see how hot things get without the tiles in those locations, while also testing some backup thermal protection options. Ideally, we expect Starship's reentry to improve on each flight, thanks in part to this wealth of new data. But if getting to space is hard, returning from space is even harder.
That's right. No one has ever succeeded in creating a fully and rapidly reusable heat shield. So we could see some spectacular failures before we get this right. But with communications improving on each flight, we will continue to gather more and more data to inform our development. We're now about 15 and a half minutes until our next liftoff attempt. In the meantime, let's take a look at some of the technology we have in development as we prepare to head to the moon in future missions.
So this whole launch vehicle, the Starship spacecraft plus the super heavy rocket booster, the whole thing is about 400 feet tall. Again, this is the most powerful rocket ever flown. Do we have music on this, or is it just...
Spacesuits and astronauts.
Together with Axiom and NASA, our teams put 2 astronauts...
All right, let me take some comments from the chat while we're waiting here. About 15 minutes till... Under less than 15 minutes till liftoff. Let's see here. Yeah, and they're not today. While they're going to try to do controlled landings of both parts of the vehicle, the booster and the spacecraft, they are not actually going to recover those today. They're landing them both on water, but they want us. They're really the focus for today's test flight is the reusability aspect, bringing both pieces back down, so that like they would have to do. If they were really trying to reuse it. Yes, and they did say, you heard them say on the stream, that they have removed 2 heat shield tiles and intentionally placed 1 thin heat shield tile to measure how hot things get without tiles in those locations, while also testing some thermal protection options. So there are a couple of tiles, heat shield tiles, missing on the spacecraft.
Bob and Doug there on your screen. That was certainly a memorable day at SpaceX.
Wow, so we have 13 minutes, guys. 13 minutes.
Being the next to take its first astronauts to the moon.
The Starship is supposed to take astronauts to the moon starting in 2026.
To the moon.
It is, and as we mentioned, compared to the Boeing Starliner spacecraft, which is currently in orbit and is docking with the International Space Station today, the Starliner spacecraft carries up to 7 people and is 15 feet in diameter and I think 60.5 feet long. The Starship spacecraft, which is launching today, carries up to 100 people and is 165 feet long and 30 feet in diameter.
So stay tuned because that is going to be a very exciting mission to watch. In the meantime, at T-minus 12 minutes, let's check back in with Dan on today's countdown.
Hey, thanks, Jesse. Everything continues to go real smoothly. It's been a real quiet day so far. The board looks really clean, not tracking any impediments to a launch just under 12 minutes from now. Prop loads continuing. Looking at the numbers real quick, we're about 85% full on the ship. We did pause to start filling those header tanks on ship. Again, those are the 2 smaller tanks in the very top of the nose cone that we're going to use for that attempted landing burn with ship. And with the booster, we're just at about 75, 76% or so on our methane and LOX, so getting pretty full there. Those are going to continue down to about 3 minutes and 20 seconds before liftoff. That's when we'll close out all the prop on the ship. And then T-minus 2 minutes and 50 seconds on the booster. A lot of work also going on in the background. Our range safety teams working to make sure the area, not just around the pad, but in the sea space out in the Gulf and also in the anticipated entry point in the Indian Ocean are clear. We're not tracking any blockers, any boats, anything like that in the zone right now, but their work literally continues right up until those last couple of minutes. So they're working pretty hard to make sure everything stays clear. But right now the range is green. I already talked about it in the beginning. It looks a little bit cloudy, but weather not a concern today. Really light winds. We only had about a 5% chance of violation when we started this morning, and that's held. So everything continuing to look really good for launch so far. The pad itself is getting ready. Reminder that we're going to light those engines about 4 minutes before it actually takes off. So you'll see them start. The 33 engines on Super Heavy start to light prior to that T0, and then about 2 seconds after we'll start to see first motion. But everything looking great. Just coming up on 10 minutes until launch. Getting excited down here, ready to feel the rumble. I'll send it back to you guys over in Hawthorne.
Thanks, Dan. Teams are also getting excited here at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. There is a pretty large crowd now gathering outside of Mission Control, located just behind Jesse and I. Now, actually, you can see it there on your screen.
There they are.
Everyone getting super pumped for our 4th flight test. Now, as a reminder on that note, today is just a test, the 4th of many future flight tests of Starship before it becomes fully operational. So whatever the outcome and however far we get, we can promise excitement. This rapid iterative development approach has been the basis for all of SpaceX's major innovative advancements.
You know, one thing I want to point out, 2 things. First of all, when the guy was talking about loading the propellant into the spacecraft and into the booster, he mentioned. Hold on a second.
We are not recovering the booster or ship today. Test flights like these provide critical data through every phase of flight, which will get us closer and closer to full reusability. And we have a lot more tests planned for this year. When we start recovering Starship boosters, we'll want them to return to the launch site for a quicker turnaround, which you can see.
All right, so when it said they're loading CH4 and LOX, the LOX is liquid oxygen and the CH4 is methane. That's what they're loading in, methane and liquid oxygen. Also, something I want to note is I think there's a little less tension in these things when there's not human astronauts on board. I don't know about you guys. I'm feeling a little less nervous today than I was yesterday. And I was thinking about it. I was like, why do I feel less nervous? And I was like, oh, well, because there's not humans on board. So even if something goes wrong, there's no astronauts on board. So I think it kind of lowers the stress a little bit, at least for me watching.
To this in the future, like I said, we're going to have 2 at Cape Canaveral in Florida and 2 located at Starbase. Starbase will continue to be used for flight tests, and the towers at the Cape will come online.
Yeah, a bunch of the viewers agree, like Nigel and Overfear and Cindy J. They're saying the same thing.
Which are responsible for
Rick Hoppy.
Swinging those arms in for a catch. And we'll be testing an operational step on this flight by moving the chopsticks to the catch position immediately after Starship flies away.
That's going to be really incredible to see. As we mentioned, we have a lot more tests planned for this year, so we need a lot more hardware. Today we have ships and super heavy boosters built and either ready to launch or in testing for the next several flights, with more coming off of the production line as SpaceX's Star Factory continues to grow. The latest phase of the factory currently under construction will come online this summer, giving us several 100,000 more square feet of space.
Yeah, when you step into this factory, it is truly inspirational. My heart jumps out of my chest every time I'm there. Now, this will enable us to increase our production rate significantly as we build toward our long-term goal of producing 1 ship per day. And coming off the production line soon, Starship version 2. Now, with all that being said, let's check back in with Dan for the latest as we head into the terminal count.
Hey, thanks, Kate. Everything still looks great. We're getting ready to launch. We are just under 6.5 minutes away. You can see when we throw up the graphics for prop load that we're almost closed out. Ship more than 90% full. Those header tanks are done. And then the boosters right coming up on 90% real soon. So we're going to see those close out in the next couple of minutes. Ship's going to end at about 3 minutes and 20 seconds. It'll be fully loaded. And then booster at about 2 minutes and 50 seconds. After all the props loaded on, we go through a lot of steps to safe ground systems. You're doing things called pushbacks, where you're just clearing all of those lines on the ground of propellant before we lift off. But once we're done, we're going to have 10 million pounds of liquid propellant on board Starship to help power the most powerful vehicle ever designed. If we do hold, we have a built-in hold gate at T-minus 40 seconds. We can hold there for about 30 minutes or so today if we need to wait for final pressure checks or for if we have anything on the range, anything like that. Did just get that the range is green, so we are coming up 5 minutes and 20 seconds away. We are not planning to hold at T-minus 40 unless we trip some kind of hold alarm, something like that. So we could blow right through that gate and go right to launch. Don't be shocked if we hold at T40, though. And if we do, we can hold for a couple of minutes and then keep going. Our window is open all the way until 9 a.m.
5 minutes, guys. 5 minutes.
Once we pass through T-minus 40 seconds, a number of events will occur in rapid succession. The ground spin and ignition systems will come up to flight pressure, and the ship will go to internal power.
Now, after that, the quick disconnect arm lockout is removed in preparation for retraction shortly after T0. Gas lines connected to the booster and ship are vented down, and once we pass T-minus 40 seconds, we still have the ability to recycle the count under certain conditions back to T-minus 40 seconds and hold there to assess what happened and if we can proceed again to T0.
However, once the water for the deflector system begins flowing at T-minus 10 seconds, any issue after that would be an automatic scrub for the day, as teams would need to refill the deflector's water tanks, as well as the lock storage tanks.
The flight is supposed to take about an hour and 5 minutes total, the test flight, if everything goes well.
We are not planning to hold at the optional T-minus 40 second mark. That moment basically is what would allow teams to wait for final checkouts or assess prop levels or avionics, vehicle pressurization, the range, the weather. Weather is 95% go, as you can see from these incredible drone views that we have and pad cams. It is a beautiful day. Of course, we have some clouds billowing from the locks there.
Yeah, and again, a reminder that The payload for this mission is data, and our primary goal is to get ship through the extreme heat of reentry today. We're very excited to see that. We did get very close on Flight 3, so I'm excited to see how these iterations that we've made to the vehicle will help improve our chances of success today.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, just as a reminder for the booster, now we are not attempting to recover any hardware today, both either on ship or booster. For the booster, we will be attempting to perform a landing burn to have a soft splashdown in the Gulf of Mexico. We made some improvements from our Flight 3 learnings, so hopefully that will work and we'll see a successful soft splashdown. For the ship, we're hoping to demonstrate controlled re-entry, including a flip maneuver and landing burn, and that will be followed by splashdown in the Indian Ocean. That is the same target as we had on Flight 3, so everything should look pretty similar in that regard. And we just heard the call out there that all prop load is closed out, so at this point, there is like 10 million pounds of propellant on board Starship, which is
Here we
incredible.
go, about 2 minutes.
It's getting very exciting. We are just about 2 minutes away from T0.
About 2 minutes, guys. Here we go. This flight should take 1 hour and 5 minutes if everything goes well. We'll see if everything goes well.
And as Jesse just said, we are under 2 minutes away. So prop load is complete. All the fill drain lines into ship and booster have closed. Right now we're doing the pushback, so clearing out all those ground lines of propellant, and that'll be completed over the next couple of seconds. We're coming up on that T-minus 40 mark. Again, not planning to hold. If we do, or if we get a hold after we pass it, we can snap back to that T-minus 40. And then we can stay there for about 30 minutes or so if any other issues crop up. Once we pass T-minus 40, a lot of things happen, both on the vehicle and the ground. It's running a lot of its own self-checkouts, venting different tanks and pressure lines throughout the vehicle. We essentially built that 40 seconds as that's about how much time it takes for the vehicle to take all of those actions, which is why we hold there. But all of that happens automated. You do a final checkout of the TVC, the thrust vector control, how we're going to steer. And then we see liftoff. So we're under a minute away. "45 seconds and counting.
Good event, game met.
All right, now as we close in.
Here we go. Here we go.
Past the 40-second mark. So let's listen in.
Flight Director
Ty Huntington's going to take us through one more time for a Starship liftoff.
All right, here we go, guys. All right, it's happening.
T-minus 15. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Whoa!
We have liftoff.
It's like a video game. Crazy.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
Look at that. That's pretty crazy. It is lifting off.
All right, 30 seconds into flight. The rumbles are still building here in the Raptor's nest. We're seeing 32 out of 33 engines lit on the Super Heavy right now. Coming up shortly is going to be max Q, that maximum aerodynamic pressure as we go uphill on the vehicle.
Max Q.
All right, we just passed through max Q, so we're going to continue on up. We still have about a minute and 30 seconds until we get to stage separation. Starship now flying faster than the speed of sound. All right, so you got a couple of views. You got some ground trackers in your top camera there. You're looking down from the top of the booster in the bottom left, and then a camera in the top flap of the ship looking back in the bottom right, so getting a couple of different looks as Starship heads uphill. Once we get the hot staging, a lot of things happen all at once simultaneously. We're going to light the engines on the ship, starting with the RVACs first, and then the 3 center sea level engines before we're separated. All of that exhaust gets plumed out the side of the hot stage, and then the ship will separate itself. All but the 3 center engines on the booster are going to shut down, so the booster never stops its thrust while we go through this hot stage maneuver. After that, the booster is going to do its flip, start heading back, and then the ship will be on its own power on its way to space. So that should be coming up in just about 30 seconds from now. As of right now, still looking in like 32 out of 33 Raptors lit on the booster. And we'll start to see those stagger down. They're going to turn off in banks, so you'll see the lights on the bottom left screen of the engines that are active start to turn off in different groups, and you'll see those 3 center ones lit.
Booster engine cut off.
Cool.
Ship ignition.
There it goes. There goes the booster.
Boost back burn, start up.
Booster separation.
Acquisition signal. Houston.
Hot stage confirmed. Ship under its own power. Booster boosting back. Looks like all 13 are lit. Kate, we got a booster on the way back to the Gulf and a ship on the way to space.
Acquisition signal. Status.
Ship chamber pressures are nominal.
The booster should land in like 3 minutes.
Ship power and telemetry nominal.
All right, the first stage currently performing the boost back burn. This is expected to last a little over 1 minute. This propels the booster back toward the coast, taking it to a landing in the waters of the Gulf of Mexico. As you can see on your screen in the bottom left-hand corner, we were only using the 13 center engines from here on.
Boost back burn shut down.
Heard confirmation there of good boost back burn shutdown.
H2 tank pressures are nominal.
Lots of excitement. So right here, this is our view of the jettisoned hot stage. As we mentioned, this is a temporary fix to help reduce the weight of the booster, the Super Heavy booster. Future iterations will have a lighter weight integrated hot stage structure that won't need to be jettisoned. Now, after we jettison that hot stage, the booster will begin to attempt its water landing in the Gulf. In the meantime, the ship will coast for about 40 minutes or so up to an altitude of 214 kilometers. And after its coast phase, it will attempt a controlled reentry, including a flip maneuver and a landing burn, just before splashing down in the Indian Ocean. But as a reminder, we are not attempting...
Trajectory nominal.
Good news there. Trajectory is looking good for the ship, which is on the right-hand side of your screen.
So on the left, I think we're seeing the booster on the left. And again, they're trying to
At
eventually
this point
they
in time, as you can see, we have no engines lit on the booster. It is coasting back toward the Gulf of Mexico for a water landing and ship under power of all 6 Raptor engines. There's 3 sea level and 3 vacuum Raptor engines that are lit, as we can see on your screen.
So the booster is on the left, and the Starship spacecraft
These
is on the right.
views have been looking incredible. Super Heavy has been performing beautifully today. And you can hear the crowd is very excited about it. As a reminder for Booster, the primary goal today is to do a landing burn and a splashdown in the water. And we are just about 30 seconds away from that landing burn expecting to begin. And an incredible view from the forward portion of the booster. This is basically on top of the Super Heavy booster where we have jettisoned that hot stage. So now we can see this incredible view of Earth as it's making its way back down to the Gulf of Mexico. Right now, the booster
Wow.
is using the 4 hypersonic grid fins to guide itself through atmospheric re-entry. And we are expecting that landing burn here.
Hey, thanks, Too Cool. Thank you, Too Cool.
We will be igniting 13 engines, and this is a great view. On your left-hand side is 3 views from the booster, and your right-hand side a view from the ship. And you can see those grid fins on your left-hand screen rotating and turning to guide the booster, and there's that landing burn. That landing burn just begun, and you can see the water below.
Wow. Very cool.
And we have splashdown.
So that's the booster. That's the booster, guys.
What an incredible sight. Congratulations to the SpaceX team.
Ship has entered terminal guidance.
That was absolutely incredible. The first successful splashdown of the Super Heavy booster. Loved seeing it just tip over into the water before losing that footage. Now the next milestone is coming up in about under a minute. Ship is going to shut off its Raptor engines,
Ship engine cut off,
which we see right there.
There you go.
As we mentioned before, today's test flight is not an orbital flight, but rather one that demonstrates the Starship's orbital capability.
So the booster has been brought back.
So right now, we are under power with just the 3 center Raptor engines. Expecting those, and just there we could see that those have also successfully cut off.
Okay. Tis what it is, says perfect so far. Yeah, it seems like it's going great so far.
What an incredible...
Nominal orbit insertion.
Oh, there's great news there. The call out we were hoping to hear. Amazing views once again from Starship. We have our second Starship in space. These live views being brought to us by Starlink, which is on board the ship. Dan, what an incredible view we have once again. So exciting. We got another ship in space.
I'm like still jumping up and down. I'm like, this whole building was going absolutely insane when we saw the booster hit the water. I mean, wow. Congrats to everybody that's just been putting in insane amounts of hours on everything to make this thing a reality. And I feel like every single time we do one of these, we're seeing something wildly new. We got to see the hot stage jettison and the booster in the water, but just to recap real quick over everything that's happened. So we lifted off at 7:50 a.m. only 9 minutes ago. How has it only been 9 minutes? 7:50 a.m. Central at 12:50 UTC. We saw 32 of the 33 Raptor engines on Super Heavy make the ascent. We had successful cutoff, successful hot staging. All 6 engines on the ship powered it all the way into a nominal orbital trajectory. And we've already been getting some live views from the ship on board. After that, the booster was able to do its boost back burn. Oh, this looks like we're actually getting some views from the ground still, potentially from Florida, of the ship as it's up there.
Wow, that's the ship.
Yeah, so that's a view from some of our tracking cameras on the ground in Florida. But the ship, we just heard successful orbital insertion, so it's right where it needs to be and is now going to continue on its way to coast until it comes to reentry. But I mean, the booster, successful boost back burn, jettison the hot stage, and then a landing burn. It looked like we saw 12 of the 13 engines light up, and then that first ever soft splashdown in the water. So a whole lot still to come. Ship now on its way to its primary objective of entry. That's going to be coming up in just under 40 minutes from now. So a lot still to come, but wow, what a 9 minutes to start this mission off. So can't wait to see what entry is going to show us, but that launch was incredible. Back over to you, Jesse and Kate.
In about 40 minutes, the ship will make re-entry.
Wow. I am still trying to catch my breath here. That was some incredible views that we have never seen before. It has been nonstop since liftoff. And with the booster having completed its job for the day, we're going to take a short break for about the next 28 minutes, and we'll return while we're going to take a break while the ship is continuing to coast before re-entry.
Exactly. As with Flight 3, Starlink may enable us to talk with the ship through re-entry with no communication blackout. We are still testing Starlink during this phase of flight, so of course nothing is certain. However, if we do have views, we will be sure to bring those to you live. Views such as the one, that we had. Well, of course, because I said it, it went away. So we will try to bring those to you live.
Exactly. Views or no views, we'll see you back here at T plus 40 minutes for coverage of Starship's re-entry, flip maneuver, landing burn, and splashdown.
Okay, so the SpaceX feed will continue around 9:31 a.m. ET. So, right, they said, I think I'm going to put that in the headline there. More live video of SpaceX Starship at around 9:31 a.m. ET. Okay, so things are going well so far, right? I'm going to take some comments from you guys, but things are certainly going well so far. They got it off the ground. The booster is separated from the Starship. The booster made its way back to the ground. It did a controlled landing on the water. They're not recovering it today, but the idea, one of the big goals of this whole project, this whole spacecraft project, is to create a fully reusable and a rapidly reusable space launch system. So the booster rocket and the spacecraft are meant to be reusable. And so today they did recover the booster. Well, they did get the booster down in a controlled fashion, which is great. And then right now, this Starship is making its way around the Earth, and it is it's not going to go completely around the Earth today. I believe it's going to make its way over the Indian Ocean, and as I understand it, although I might be wrong about that, but my understanding was from the graphic they showed at the start, it showed it taking off from Florida and then making its way to over the Indian Ocean and then making reentry and landing. Ideally, this Starship will survive reentry and then make a controlled splashdown in the Indian Ocean, I guess kind of similar to what the booster did. That's the idea, and that's the goal. But they're going to come back in about 25 minutes with more live video to show us the re-entry and the landing, if it all goes well. Okay? So we're going to be covering that. Let me take some comments from you guys. By the way, I owe a thank you to Too Cool and Allison Wilson, and 'tis what it is. Too Cool says, gotta celebrate the sheer achievements of humanity every once in a while. We may be doom and gloom, but we're also awesome sometimes. This spacecraft is supposed to take people to the moon starting in 2026, and eventually supposed to take people to Mars. SpaceX hopes. And beyond, they say. All right. Wall Street says, think about the logistics involved to recover the Starship. So they said on this broadcast they're not recovering either of these today. They're doing controlled landings but not recovering them today. Let's see here. I'm going to check some more. Gary BB says, so cool with the controlled burns. Yeah, I mean, you saw with the booster, before it got to the water, as it was going down, some of the engines started firing again to do that controlled landing. Let's see. Yes, as Armandoc says, they launched from SpaceX Starbase in Boca Chica, Texas. Yeah, so that makes sense. So about 10 minutes after launch, they caught a glimpse of the Starship overhead from, I guess, cameras in Florida. Now, Middleton Productions says the booster should be floating. All I can say is they said repeatedly during this broadcast that they are not recovering either stage today. That's what they said. So the actual test flight is ongoing, but as you can see, it says awaiting acquisition of signal. Ann Breedenstein says that was some splashdown. Does it really float? The booster, that big thing floats? I don't know. I don't know. But again, they said that they're not recovering it. Jane Jones said no recovery of booster or rocket ship today. Let's see here. Let me take some more comments from you guys. You can write to me on X at Lookner. So we have about 23 minutes until we get the video back, and we're going to see, in theory, the re-entry and landing. Snake Handler says it's hollow without fuel. Chris says it's empty. Does it not leak at all? Is it airtight? Will it eventually sink? Joe McCurdy said it floats but typically breaches when it tips over. Thanks to our member Dances with Wolves. Thanks to all of our moderators too. Really appreciate our moderators being with us today. Thank you so much. We can't have chats without them. Kinetic is moderating right now. Linda Belk and Larry moderate for us. Also, Big Ball of Yarn, David Green, Idaho Star, Papa Bear, I Got That Fire. Thanks to C. Mitchell, 042092 for subscribing, by the way, on Twitch. And thanks to Kay Lowry Body and Margaret Riley for moderating. Really appreciate all of our moderators. Let me read some more of... Can I replay the booster landing? You know, I think maybe I can, but I need to... I would have to replay my own broadcast. Let me see if I can do that real quick. Hang on a moment here. Let me see if I can do that. I just need 2 seconds. Oh, you can replay it. By the way, I can tell you the time code. So, but I'll replay it if I can. I'll just have to replay it from our own broadcast. But you can actually rewind the broadcast, as one of our viewers said on YouTube. So it would have been, where was it here? I got to go back and catch it. There's everybody celebrating. Okay, right here. I got it right here. Here, I'm going to replay this right now. So give me a moment here. Let me just replay this. All right, there's our broadcast. So this is moments ago. This is moments ago, okay? So I'm going to hit play on this. And again, this is not live. This is moments ago. Maybe this is a few minutes ago. All right, hold on. I got to turn the audio on. I'm confusing myself. There's the video. Let me just do this. Hold on. What did I just do? Oh, I see. Okay. Are we going to hear this? Now I'm seeing it, but I'm not hearing it. Why am I not hearing it? That's the question. Why are we not hearing sound? Is it muted? What's happening? Why can't I hear sound? I don't know. Anyways, that's what it looked like. I'm going to replay it. I don't know why we're not getting sound out of this. But, I know why we're not getting sound. Hold on a second. Here we go.
You can see those grid fins on your left.
All right. Hold on. I can't. Hold on. Time out. Time out. 1 moment. Give me 1 moment. Hold on. Okay, this is going to work now. So I'm going to replay for a few seconds. I'm replaying what it looked like when the booster landed. This is when the booster is landing on the water. Okay? I'm replaying this right now. Here we go. No, you still can't hear it. Why can't you hear it? Oh, I know why you can't hear it. It's going to work now. Here we go.
From the booster and your right-hand side of view from the ship. And you can see those grid fins on your left-hand screen rotating and turning to guide the booster. And there's that landing bird. That landing bird just begun. And you can see the water below.
Wow, very cool.
And we have splashdown.
So that's the booster. That's the booster, guys. And then it looked like the booster maybe started tipping over. Again, they're not supposed to recover the booster today. This was just they wanted to show that they could do the controlled landing of the booster. Okay, so let me go back to not confuse people. I want to go back to the live video shot. So we want to get rid of this. We want to get rid of this here. All right, that's the live feed from SpaceX via Reuters, but as you can see, it says awaiting acquisition of signal. All right, so just to be clear what's going on here. And then what I want to do is do this, cut that, then put this back on here. Okay. So in about 16 minutes or so, we will be getting the signal back from the Starship spacecraft. And we should be seeing live footage starting in about 16 minutes of that spacecraft as it re-enters the atmosphere. And if last time as a guide, we'll see it start changing color and lighting up and stuff as it faces intense heat. And then it's going to, if everything goes well, survive re-entry. And then I want to say about 1,600 feet above ground, do like a flip maneuver and do a controlled landing on the water. That was really the goal for today, is to practice, is to emphasize the reusability of these two parts of this launch vehicle, the spacecraft on the top and the booster on the bottom. The booster has already made its controlled splashdown. Now we're waiting to see if they can do it with the Starship. All right. Okay. Wow. Amra says, I can't wait for the Starship to make its return to Earth. Matthew Becker says this is huge for spaceflight. But only about 15 minutes from now. Hey, thanks so much, Stephen Roberts, for the gift memberships. That's really kind of you, Stephen. Thanks for giving people memberships in the YouTube chat. Make sure you thank Stephen if you got a membership from Stephen. Or if you got one from one of our other viewers, thank them. Thanks to our new member, Chris, on YouTube. Thanks also to Tommy Anderson from Sweden. So nice of you, Tommy. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Tommy. Yeah, so Dragon Slayer says, hope they get the video feedback. They're going to. So this was planned. They didn't like accidentally lose the video feed. They did say we're going to take a little break now. And they said that they would get the video feedback in about 14, 15 minutes. Splashdown is supposed to be in. So you see the clock at the bottom that says 26 minutes and 30 seconds, flight test. Splashdown is about at an hour and 5 minutes. So splashdown would be in around 38, 39 minutes. So what that means is once we get the video back, we should have about, 23, 24 minutes of the flight left once the video comes back, as I understand it. Sharon K. Johnson says it's been so fun, interesting, and impressive to watch. And this is not a manned test flight right now. This is unmanned today. Oh, Elon Musk posted, guys. He said, we do actually have acquisition signal. 11 internal cameras are transmitting, figuring out why external cameras aren't. So, and he said the external camera comes back online in 11 minutes. Anyways, so Elon Musk posted 4 minutes ago saying external camera comes online in 11 minutes. So in theory, that should mean at about 9:25 a.m. Oh, we might be getting it back now. All right, so I'm going to update my headline. According to Elon Musk, he says the external camera is supposed to come back on around 9:25 Eastern Time, which is 6 minutes from now. I'm going to post in the chat, I'm going to post a post from X, which is video of the booster splashdown. Video of booster splashdown. That you can go look at again if you want. Scott Manley, who is a space expert and popular social media space personality, I would say, he said the booster looked controlled during descent and soft touchdown, but only SpaceX knows how accurate it was. They'll need to demonstrate meter-level precision for tower capture. That's interesting. Because in theory, what they eventually want to do with the booster is have it land, and I think the spacecraft is they want it to land at a specific tower, which is going to have arms to grab it. I don't know if that's the launch tower or a different tower, but they're going to land it at a tower with arms to grab it. So just a few minutes until we get the video back. There are no people on the test flight today. So maybe about 5, I mean, if what Elon Musk said is accurate, about 5 minutes until the video comes back. Okay, John says SpaceX has already shown that the Starship and Heavy booster can both land on a ship or landing pad, right? No. So previously, the Starship has never survived re-entry, as I understand it, right? Because the Starship, I'd have to go back and look at, there's been 3 previous test flights. So you might be mixing up the Starship with a previous SpaceX craft. But there have been, Gary BB says just Falcon. I don't believe this booster had ever landed before, had ever done a controlled landing before. I don't think. I'd have to go back and look. Thomas Hayden says Starship has done the flip landing several times, but that was just during hop tests. The Ringer says that's Falcon Heavy. So again, I think if you're thinking of seeing previous controlled landings on a platform after a launch, I think you're thinking about a previous SpaceX piece of equipment, not the Starship spacecraft and the Super Heavy booster. Xylee says people are mistaking the Starship landing test. It was not orbital. Now, this is not an orbital flight today. I believe it's in space, but it's not doing. Today's flight is demonstrating orbital capability, but it's not orbiting. I mean, it's only going, I think, roughly halfway around the world. Suborbital, says Congler and Armandox. And Julius, thank you. I am not a space expert. I appreciate your input on this. Yes. Hang on a second here. DK79 says it's not in orbit. It's slightly below orbit. In case of malfunction, they can bail. Right, so is the idea that they've done 3 integrated test flights before this one. That's both the launch vehicle, that's both the Super Heavy booster and the Starship spacecraft together. They've done 3 previous test flights of those, starting in 2023. And in those, I don't believe they had done a controlled landing of either the booster or the spacecraft, if I have that right. I'd have to read through the details. Yeah, our viewer John Busquiglio says this is only the 4th launch of both of them together, the whole package. Eggy says in the integrated test flights, they have never achieved a landing before today. Darth Pronator says just the Starship alone did many tests. It flipped and landed. It's amazing. To look it up on YouTube. Thanks, Darth Pronator. The Starship is going to splash down in the Indian Ocean. So shortly, we should get video back, right around now, in theory. Hey, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Edward Mills, thanks so much, Edward, for your support. Edward Mills, thank you. All right, so I'm going to change the headline to more live video of SpaceX Starship at any moment. Originally, they had said the live video would come back at about 9:31. Elon Musk then on X suggested that the external cameras were expected around now. So sometime in the next 5 minutes, it sounds like, if everything is going okay, we will start seeing the video again. And what we're waiting for, again, is the rocket booster has already made a successful controlled landing on the water. And now we're going to see if this Starship spacecraft can survive reentry and similarly make a controlled splashdown on the water. That's really the goal for today, is to get both of these 2 parts of the launch of the Space Launch Vehicle, the booster and the spacecraft, to get them back and to have them do controlled splashdowns, controlled landings. So far so good, it sounds like, for them. Yeah, that was a real launch that we saw. It really did launch 36 minutes ago. Oh, SpaceX also posted a video of the splashdown. So I'll post that in the chat. Video of booster splashdown. In case you missed it, I just posted it in the chat there. Oh, we got video back. Video's back. We are back with video. Video is back. Hang on. All right, I can't play the video is back. As you can see, I can't play the music. So as soon as I start talking, I'll play the audio. But the video is back. So let me say alive. SpaceX Starship to soon make re-entry. All right, so there is the live video. That is from the Starship spacecraft. Wow. And yeah, I can't play it right now. As soon as they start, you know what? They said they were taking their break until like 9:31. So I think in 2 or 3 minutes we'll start having the commentary from the SpaceX folks. But so we have about 26 minutes until splashdown. Okay? Because splashdown is supposed to be 1 hour 5 in. And it's 39 minutes in. Exciting. Splashdown will be in the Indian Ocean. And it does about roughly 1,600 feet, I believe, before it lands. It'll do a belly flop. It'll do a turn before landing, in theory. Are they talking yet? No, they're not talking yet. As soon as they start talking again, I will let you know. But we did get the video back. That's something. Are they talking now? No, not on mine. Maybe on yours. I might be on, well, I'm playing what is live for me, but give it a second. Maybe in a couple seconds I'll get the talking. Purple Cat Audio says SpaceX and Starlink launches are rather commonplace now. Imagine what the next 20 years will bring. Oh, we got it. Hold on, we got it.
Staging, stage separation, jettisoning of the hot stage structure, an epic super heavy booster landing, water landing in the Gulf of Mexico, the first successful return of the super heavy booster. So that was incredible to see. And right now, the ship is in space. As you can see here by this view, we're looking at one of the flaps of Starship, one of 4. You can actually see a close-up side detail of some of those hexagonal heat shield tiles. Now, coming up around T plus 49 minutes, the ship will re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. As a reminder, the primary goal of today's flight test is for a ship to make it through the extreme heat of re-entry. This is typically a portion of flight where we don't have communications with the spacecraft because it's re-entering at or around orbital velocity, which is about 8 kilometers per second or roughly 5 miles per second. At those speeds, the spacecraft moving through the atmosphere results in friction and creates a plasma field around the vehicle. That blanket of plasma distorts, as you can see, that plasma blanket, which you can kind of see here, distorts communication frequencies, so we're left with a brief blackout in communication.
So that's what's going to happen. This is a graphic image of what's going to happen coming up. This is not live footage, guys. This is not live footage.
And Starlink's what's really allowing us to capture as much data as possible, especially through this reentry. Updated animation, landing burn. I hope we get to see it for real today. But these live views that we're getting now and we're going to continue to get are through Starlink. That's going to allow us to get as much data as possible, which we've said it before. We're going to say it 9,000 times. The data is the payload on these flights. So as much as we can learn, that's just going to pay dividends on all of our future flights and help us get Starship to an operational phase. Re-entry, obviously a really critical phase of the flight, and it's the one that we're now most focused on cracking to get us closer to that full reusability. Starlink is going to be able to send us data back all the way through re-entry. We've done some additional testing, and we're expecting to be able to get data from Starlink thanks to its high frequency and kind of the orientation and everything of Starship all the way through re-entry. And then got a new view here. We have 2 external views. We had this one on flight 3. We've got 2 for this one. And we're going to continue adding views as we continue to evolve Starship. Again, this is an experimental vehicle. Believe me, I want as many camera views as you all do. So huge shout out to the AVI and the software teams and everybody that's been working with us. We're getting more cameras on Starship. Not just because it looks cool, but this provides an incredible insight into re-entry, which is, historically a really tough window to look through.
Approaching entry interface.
The physics of re-entry are insanely intense. One of my favorite NASA astronauts, Victor Glover, recently described it as with the forces and the flows and the temperatures, it's like pointing at a raging river in one spot and saying, tell me exactly what's happening right there. And that's what a ship is experiencing as it goes through, as it's moving through the atmosphere at, more than 5 miles a second and heating up to thousands of degrees. So just having visual representation, just being able to see what's happening is incredibly valuable. So these views are going to be through Starlink. We've got this one. This is in one of the forward flaps looking back. So if you see it rotating around, that's because, again, it's embedded in one of those forward flaps. So as we get through and we start to build up density in the atmosphere, this view is going to move around as the flap does. And then the other one we had a little bit earlier is looking at one of the other forward flaps on the other side. Eventually, we're going to keep adding more cameras to Starship, get a couple of different views from the outside of all the different areas, and then also eventually to be able to see payloads once they're deployed. So a lot more exciting stuff coming up in the future. But right now we're getting closer to re-entry. We're going to be moving at hypersonic speeds of more than 5 times the speed of sound. We're going to see that plasma start to build. So, Kate, Jesse, excitement coming up.
Yeah, as you can see with that view on your screen, again, high def brought to us by Starlink. We can see the plasma beginning to build as the ship is getting closer to the Earth's atmosphere. Now, let's talk a little bit about how Starship will survive re-entry, hopefully. And
altitude getting lower. You can see the altitude there getting lower on the bottom right.
There's 18,000 hexagonal ceramic tiles surrounding the bottom portion or the Earth-facing side of the ship.
100 kilometers altitude, good altitude for entry.
Great call-outs there.
Wow, here we go.
Now, during atmospheric re-entry, the vehicle is going to see temperatures as high as 2,600 degrees Fahrenheit or over 1,400 degrees Celsius. So those tiles are there to help protect the vehicle from this extreme heat.
Yeah, and the flaps will help control it. Now, one noticeable difference I see immediately, those flaps are not moving as much as they were on Flight 3. So that is a great sign, right? We had unplanned loss of roll control on Flight 3, so we added some additional thrusters, and we can see that they're working well, and we have a much more stable view. So those flaps, there's 4 of them, 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. They're made out of stainless steel.
It's like they lost the video.
Yeah,
Did they lose the video?
Steer the ship, which, as we can see, the plasma.
Did they lose video? Because last time they had the video for longer.
It will have to perform a flip maneuver as well as a landing burn. We saw this
because the video is stalled.
Of high altitude flight tests back in like 2020, 2021. Similar.
Now it looks like the video is paused.
Great news there. It sounds like the temperatures that we are getting during this point, which again, we usually don't get during spaceflight because of this plasma. We're getting this live. This is a great news. So similarly to, for example, the serial number 10 test that we saw a couple years ago.
People are saying this is live video and it's moving. It's not paused? It's not paused? I'm looking. I can't see anything. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's not paused. You can see the ship moving?
Those engines are pointing down.
It's
so
moving,
that it can
people
land
are saying.
vertically using Raptor's thrust.
And as you can see, even from the beginning of the program, we've designed Starship to land on...
People are saying they're seeing it move. I'm looking at it. I'm trying to see movement.
The vehicle is passing through 85 kilometers altitude. The flaps have control of the vehicle.
Great news. Flaps have control of the vehicle. That's exactly what we want to hear for this flight test.
Yeah.
Again, we are going to be doing a propulsive landing instead of a more traditional means like parachutes. And we are expecting re-entry to begin here in just about a minute. Re-entry, an awesome view that we have here.
Starship remains on a good entry trajectory.
This is the same view that we had when we first returned from the coast phase. Again, this is looking at the side of one of the flaps. It's incredible that literally at the bottom of this picture, we're basically looking through plasma, which is just absolutely mind-blowing.
Wild, very wild. Now we are expecting entry to begin here in about 30 seconds or so. Entry to splashdown is expected to last about 6 minutes long. And that flip maneuver should occur around about 10 minutes before splashdown. And such incredible views that we're getting.
Approaching peak heating region.
Approaching peak
Great call-outs
heating region.
there.
Yeah, these views are absolutely astounding.
Nose temperatures continue to rise within expected region.
Wow.
And in your bottom right-hand corner, you can also follow along with the altitude of ship as it's returning back to Earth.
So once again, this view is basically looking down into the plasma blanket that is building up around the exterior of Starship. It is traveling, as you can see on your screen. You can look in the bottom right-hand corner and see how fast it's going, how high it is, as well as the general orientation. Again, we're seeing a lot more stability, a lot more control here on this flight, which is great. It shows that the iterations, the learning...
Starship is now in expected peak heating region.
All right, great news there.
So
telling
far,
us
so
that
good.
This is basically the hottest point that Starship should get during its re-entry. Now, the heat shield is working with the atmosphere for some free braking, okay? the atmosphere is helping to slow the Starship down.
Yeah, exactly. We're not using any engines or thrust to slow the vehicle down. Exactly what Kate mentioned. We're just using the atmosphere and those heat shield tiles protecting the vehicle as it's coming through that high heat temperature.
Yeah. Now, this is another one of those moments that we have been waiting for. Right now, the ship is currently re-entering the Earth's atmosphere, and by all looks and all callouts that we're hearing on the net, it is doing pretty well. Now, we do not plan to recover the spacecraft today, but rapid and reliable reusability is the ultimate goal.
And just pausing to just take in this incredible new and different view that we're seeing. We did get a similar view in Flight 3, but again, the vehicle did lose a little bit of its control, attitude control, and this is a very stable view. This is great. This is exactly what we want, and we are hearing that we're getting expected call-outs.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Starship is seeing half a G of acceleration, remains on a good entry trajectory.
Good entry trajectory.
It's incredible to look at this photo and wonder, wait, is it real? Is it frozen? We can see so I was just going to say
Those temperatures have stopped increasing.
Oh, that is great news. The temperature is no longer building. But I was saying, like, we have a little bit of indication there. We can see that streaking that occurs and tells us that this is indeed a true view. So once again, we are looking basically through the plasma that is building up around the exterior of the ship.
And I still cannot get over that we are getting a live view of re-entry right now, live on your screen. Again, we've said this over and over, but all thanks to Starlink. We are able to use Starlink in space, which we're getting this incredible data. And not only just the data from the sensors, but getting live imagery of what is actually happening, which is great, which we've never been able to do live before.
Right. Now, just a quick future outlook here. So in about, let's see, at T plus about 1 hour and 2 minutes, we should hear a call out for entry transonic. That means that the ship is going near the speed of sound. And then about a minute after that, we'll hear another call out saying entry subsonic, meaning that the ship is going below the speed of sound. So these are all continued indications that the atmosphere, right, as the ship comes back down, it is getting through the more dense part of the atmosphere, and that atmosphere is helping to push against the vehicle, and those heat shields are protecting the vehicle during this high heat period.
Wow, incredible.
Yeah, Kate and Jesse, we're starting to see as the atmosphere gets denser, you're starting to see a few more particles make an appearance in the plasma there. You can see you're looking down at the aft end of the ship in the top left, and you're seeing essentially the flame build up as we go through reentry. You've been hearing the call-outs. They're tracking things like temperatures in the nose cone, and those were right where we modeled them to be, which is really cool to see and to see in real time. But we're coming up, we're at about 67 kilometers in altitude. Our last signal with the ship on Flight 3 was at 65.
Crazy.
So we should be making it past that point shortly. Obviously, as you guys pointed out, we're in much better control this time as we re-entered in the right attitude.
Crazy you can see that live.
Steering the way so far.
Crazy.
Once we get through transonic, that's when you've got essentially
Raptor landing bird.
Different areas around the vehicle where the air is either moving faster or slower than
is
the
that
speed
smoking
of sound.
normal? Is the smoking normal, guys, or not? I don't know. You tell me.
Which we have some experience with. We did in our suborbital campaign. And Starship will eventually
what do we think?
Down to its terminal velocity.
Is it supposed to be doing that? I can't tell you.
To the water, that's just about
some people are saying yes.
So we are hearing that. We're starting to chill some of the engines as we are, if we make it all the way down to the water, still going to attempt a landing burn, but still a ways to go. We're at about 64 kilometers in altitude right now. We made it through what's expected to be the peak heating, but now we're going to start encountering increased pressures as the atmosphere gets thicker and thicker. So we're at 63 kilometers, so we've already made it farther than we did on our last flight when that last signal was coming at 65 kilometers. So again, what we're really looking at
look
here
at this.
is the
Incredible
performance
video
of the heat shield, of the flaps, of the seals and the flaps. There's just a whole bunch of different areas that we're keeping a really close eye on as we re-enter.
Wow. What is crazy? Crazy.
Starship remains on a good entry trajectory.
Good entry trajectory. That's good.
And looking like we're still on a good trajectory. If you're seeing little camera moves, that's the flap moving as it continues to maintain the attitude of the vehicle as it re-enters.
60 kilometers.
And I mean, not
Amazing
just
we can
camera
see this
views, but
live.
we've got
It's just
sensors
incredible.
inside the ship. We've got those sensors down at the very aft end of the vehicle where we pointed out we had some intentionally missing tiles, where we've got some sensors looking at just how hot it's getting around there.
Thanks, Stephanie H. I appreciate
put those
that.
in essentially the least critical part of the heat shield, where if you had any kind of a breach, it wouldn't be great for reusability, but wouldn't be critical for actual making it through the reentry into the landing.
Again, thanks, Stephanie H. Wow, look at this incredible video as it
58 kilometers.
approaches
we're
Earth.
Continuing to descend. Again, right now we are over the Indian Ocean. We're actually getting closer and closer to that expected splashdown point, which is just to the off the northwest corner of Australia.
Robin says, amazing video. It's just incredible. You can see it live.
You
It
keep
really
an eye
is
on our
incredible.
speed. The speed is dropping. We're hitting the thicker part of the atmosphere now. The speed's going to start dropping precipitously. We're going to start getting to transonic pretty soon.
Wow.
And then after that,
Wow,
we'll
look
get
at
into
this.
subsonic.
Look
where
at this.
We're moving less than the speed of sound, but wow, what a light show so far.
Hey, thanks. There is no try. I appreciate it. There is no try. Thank you.
External temperatures are starting to come down.
Again, this camera view is looking right at one of the forward flaps. And we're strategically putting some cameras around the vehicle to just look at the different
Something
areas.
happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening?
Looks like we got
Guys?
the flap starting to come apart a little.
Is the flap going to fly off? What's happening,
It does appear
guys?
that we have a little bit of burn through there. We can see
Burn
pieces
through.
of the
We got some
vehicle
burn
flying
through.
off. What a show it has been. It's been like watching Interstellar or something.
This is wild to see this, but the ship is still coming down, which is incredible to see.
How far can it go? That is the question.
Keep your
How
eye
far
on the
can it
altitude
go?
in the bottom right-hand corner. We're at 54 kilometers right
Still
now.
going.
Now, ultimately, the data is the payload today. We've been saying it multiple times. Our teams are sitting.
I think some of the debris got on the
reviewing this
camera.
data live, learning.
We
where
obscured the view of the
hotspots
camera.
are. As you can
The debris
see,
is hitting
there's
the
an obvious
camera.
hotspot there with
Oh,
the
no.
flap, and learning how we can improve this design. The goal was to get as far through this high heat re-entry as possible.
Hey,
Ideally,
thanks, Baby
we'd love
Blue
to make
Sky.
it all the way down
Thank you, Baby
and
Blue Sky,
perform that,
who says we got
that
burned through.
landing, burn, and flip maneuver. But we may not get that far today. We will see.
So,
Again, this is a test, and we are gathering as much data as possible, visual
the
data.
debris just got on
As
the... Oh,
well,
I see this.
which we
Okay,
can
all right.
see here. We are getting a lot of debris covering the camera on your screen, but
There
we
you
can
go.
still see some of those sparks and flames from that high heat as ship is making its way back down to Earth.
Ship
I
now
assume
at
that'll
50
affect the
kilometers
maneuverability,
and closing.
but I don't know.
The good news is we still got. Oh, looks like that camera lens just cracked.
The camera lens cracked.
It's safe to
Oh,
say
no.
ship's getting a little beat up, but that's to be expected on a test flight. We are still learning how to improve the ship for total survival and recovery of the high heat reentry.
It's
I'm
still
honestly
working, though.
impressed that we're still getting this live view despite how much debris is coming off of this flap right now.
The fact that we've got it is good news.
Oh, well, there you go. I don't know.
And I may have jinxed
No
it.
signal.
I apologize.
That's the camera. That's just the camera. Oh, they got it back.
Look at that.
Yay!
It's back.
We are still
Yay.
going.
And the teams here at SpaceX are excited, as you can tell by the cheering behind us.
They're still getting data from the
There's still a
ship.
sizable crowd here at Mission Control Center. Hawthorne.
Maybe it'll still land. I don't know.
A splashdown is expected in just about 4 minutes from now. And we're still moving. We still have live views. Starlink is
Vehicle
doing
is
an incredible
approaching
job.
maximum entry dynamic pressure. External temperatures are dropping.
Okay, good news. Those external pressures are dropping. The question is, how much the ship is left? We can't really tell. We can still see some of that particulate coming off And unfortunately, we do have a cracked camera lens, but for any photographers out there and videographers,
they're not sure how much the ship is still
that's part of the
intact.
gig sometimes.
Yeah, and you can see that the speed is rapidly slowing
camera's
down.
working.
That's actually really great
Camera's
news for
working.
us. We want the vehicle to be slowing down before it splashes down into the ocean. That'll help set us up for that flip maneuver, engines first down into the water.
Exactly.
Thanks,
So we
James
have
Fish.
seen
Thank
this
you,
flip
James
maneuver
Fish.
demonstrated on previous high-altitude flight tests like serial number 8. Oh, more views. Or I should say, more light coming through the
It's
view
still
that we
working, the
have,
camera.
through that cracked and dirtied lens
So
there.
that's still the camera's
But
still
yeah,
in one
so
piece.
we're hoping that this
Incredible.
flip maneuver that we can pull it
Uh-oh.
off.
All right.
As soon
Do
as
we lose
get
it? Are we
those
gonna get
views
it back?
if we can get them, if the ship is still around, we will bring
Vehicle
it back
has
to you.
passed maximum dynamic pressure.
Okay.
That
Still,
is great news.
There's still a
Maximum
speed
dynamic
reading
pressure
from
being the moment
still
in
a
which
speed
the
reading.
vehicle experiences the greatest amount of aerodynamic pressure. Speed still dropping. We're now at 37 kilometers above the ocean. Just like Flight 3, we are targeting a splashdown
Look at the
in the
speed,
water
guys.
in the Indian
Speed is
Ocean.
rapidly going down.
And we don't have a live view right now, but because we're still getting data and telemetry, that does tell us that ship is still doing okay, at least.
Yeah, I mean, you can see they're getting.
There
we got
that
something
live
back.
view back.
Yay!
The crowd very excited to see that view, despite not being able to see very much.
The fact that it's there tells us the ship is still alive.
Yes, and
For now.
collecting data, continuing to collect data as we get closer and closer to Earth.
Yes, now 30 kilometers, now 29 above the Indian
Starship is at
Ocean.
30 kilometers altitude, Mach 2.
Up. It's still going.
Sounds like the vehicle's traveling, as we just heard, Mach 2, which is, looks like we might...
We might what?
I thought maybe it might clear up. It is a little bit, now at T plus 1 hour, 3 minutes and 13 seconds into Starship Flight 4, hoping that the ship can hang on. It's probably potentially hanging on by a couple of bolts and threads, but it's still going, and that is excellent news.
That deceleration is looking incredible. We're about to go under.
How much do we think the ship is still intact? I have no idea.
Starship is at 20 kilometers altitude.
I
Now,
wonder
keep in mind
how
that
what it
even
looks
though
like.
we can't see anything, the data itself is what we really are.
Starship is subsonic.
Subsonic. They're telling us it's traveling below the speed of sound.
Hey, there's still some video, I guess.
That movement
Is that
means
water?
the flaps are
I don't-
actuating. I think we can see something.
Look at this. It's still working. It's still working. It is
This
still
is a
working.
nail biter. But we are, unfortunately, we can't see through the lens, but we're still getting the feed.
It's amazing. The camera's
Starship
still
is
working.
now 11 kilometers over the ocean. All this data
The flap is still there.
incredibly
Some of our
important.
viewers
Even
are saying
if,
the flap is
you know,
still there.
It breaks
Yeah,
up
it
right
looks like-
now.
Yeah. Look, it's still
Okay,
flapping.
we can see that
It's
flap
moving.
actuating
There it is.
through the glass.
There it is. It's still actually moving. Amazing.
Starship is passing through 10 kilometers altitude.
Wow.
Okay, the next milestone will be
Crazy.
initiation of the flip maneuver and landing burn. Keep an eye on the bottom right corner of your screen for those 3 center engines to relight. They
Wow,
will gimbal
incredible.
or angle so that the ship flips itself back up vertical and hopefully lands in a vertical position.
And the crowd is very excited to get this view of that flap still
Starship
maneuvering.
is passing through 5 kilometers altitude.
This is incredible. We're getting very close to splashdown.
These fireflies are such a good sign of life right now. We wish we could see more, but we'll take it.
Starship is at 2 kilometers altitude, terminal block.
1 kilometer altitude.
Landing beam startup for Starship.
All right, good news there.
Oh, there. It's still maneuvering. Is it flipping over?
Nominal chamber pressure.
Landing burn startup.
Starship is in landing burn.
Landing burn shutdown.
It's in landing burn, they say.
The landing burn shutdown was commanded. Wow. I mean, it was a little bit of use your imagination as you were going down with what we could actually see, but we were able to hear the ship did its landing burn. It sounded
Starship
like we might have got
shutdown.
2 engines. And there's the final call for landing burn shutdown, but we'll go back through all the data, but we did get confirmation that a landing burn took place. Starship made it through re-entry and did its first ever landing burn.
Here's Elon Musk
From
right there.
South Texas
I
to the
believe.
other side of the earth. Starship is in the water.
So I guess by landing burn, I
What a
think
day.
they mean
What a
that
day, guys! Yeah, that was absolutely incredible. We we got views pretty much the whole way down. Analysis said it could do it. We weren't sure if it was going to be able to happen, but Starlink powered through, and we were able to get signal. We started to get some debris on the cameras and everything, but we were able to see it. So, I mean, what a day. Just recapping, everything started off today. We lifted off from here in Starbase just about an hour ago. It feels like a lifetime. Successful super heavy ascent, boost back, and its own splashdown in the Gulf. Ship made it to space, kept its attitude. Successful re-entry through peak heating. We got to see it under flap control through the atmosphere, and we got call out of our first ever ship landing burn after a launch into space. So, just really incredible. So I'm going to take some time to collect myself, but wow, that was incredible. I can't wait for the next one. Over to you guys.
It was so loud here. I haven't heard the crowd get that loud probably since liftoff of Flight 1, honestly.
That was incredible. Congratulations to our teammates, to everyone who supported the Starship program. Thanks to all of our future customers for your support. And we'd also like to thank the people of Cameron County, Texas, as well as the Coast Guard, the Federal Aviation Administration, and the government of Mexico. And since Starship got a little bit toasty from that extreme heat of reentry, and we've got our very own Starship right here, let's have a toast of our own.
I've been waiting all morning for this.
Okay, may I?
Light me up.
Hope this is safe. Okay. There
Yeah. Just like Starship, I like this toasty.
I'm keeping this.
Now, we've got more Starship test flights coming to you soon. Be sure to follow the SpaceX account on X for more updates from today's test flight and future Starship tests. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.
There you go. There we go. Okay. Wow. So, it seems like it was pretty darn successful, right? They got the booster rocket back. The booster stage did a controlled splashdown. That seemed to go well. Then the Starship actually survived. It looked like it pretty much survived re-entry, which is great. And then they said there was a burn landing activated, which I think means that the engines fired at the end to try to turn it. I don't know how well it was maneuvering at the end, and if the engines, what engines fired, and if the right engines fired or whatever. So I don't know what the craft still looks like, but the camera was working, so it survived in some sense. So it does seem like, I mean, given my amateur knowledge, it does seem like it was a largely successful day. They didn't get the perfect clean camera angle of a perfect landing, but it seemed, they're with SpaceX, they're kind of their overall practice is to just do these tests and to learn from them. So, they keep saying the data is the payload, but yeah, I mean, it seemed like they got a lot of stuff accomplished that they wanted to get accomplished. Almost all of it, maybe. Let's see here. Let me take some of your comments. And by the way, quick thanks to Shauna Kathleen and James Fish for your support, and Baby Blue Sky and There Is No Try and Stephanie H. I really appreciate that. Yeah, Lori Murphy says the flaps was still maneuvering at the end. Kat says camera was the MVP. Exxon Flux says that was incredible. Some new guy says we were lucky to witness that. Jeanette says that was pretty darn cool. Amra says I want to see the damage. It would be really interesting to see what the ship looked like. Wexford says that flap is an American hero. Let's see here. James Palmieri says even with the flap burning, it was still able to work properly. That was incredible. Big success today. Grant Flynn says what a nice flight, great camera work. The Randy Bobandy says, watch next time they land on the ground with success. Malkumar thinks the landing burn did work, but when she splashed down, she flipped on her side again. I couldn't tell what was going on with exactly at the end with the landing there myself. Hey, thanks so much, Paula. That's really nice of you, Paula. Thank you. John Busciglio says, super successful. The difference between outcomes of test 3 and test 4 is orders of magnitude improvement. So with test 3, what happened in test 3 is the booster was destroyed 462 meters above the ocean by unknown causes. During landing burn in test 3, only 3 engines ignited of the booster, according to Wikipedia. And the spacecraft disintegrated prior to splashdown, and they said in the third test, which was the previous test, a scheduled restart of the Raptor engine of the spacecraft did not occur. Yeah, I think it was before reentry. Oh no, minutes into reentry, right? Minutes into reentry in the previous test, the ship disintegrated. So, whereas in this test, the ship survived reentry. It looked like it had some damage, but it did survive reentry. And so that's and then the booster did a controlled splashdown. Pam D'Angelo said, best thing I've seen today. Hey, thanks so much, John1948, for your support. I really appreciate that, John. Thank you. Let me read some more of your comments here. Papa Steve says, the little flap that could. Ed Weeby says, I'm sure they have a ton of telemetry to sift through. Tiger X says, they said 54 kilometers last test. Now it did splash down, but who knows how well. Jeffrey B, thanks Jeffrey B, says, coolest thing I've ever seen, goosebumps. The goal here is to have a rapidly reusable launch system where both the rocket booster on the bottom and the spacecraft on the top can both be recovered and reused rapidly. Thanks to our member, Stephen Roberts. Wow. Yeah, I mean, just really cool to see. Amazing technology that you can see those live shots. And you can see the live camera as it's making re-entry is just insane. This spacecraft is supposed to bring people to the moon starting in 2026. Eventually, SpaceX wants it to be able to bring people to Mars. It's a Secret believes that the telemetry showed the Starship was upright and at 0 kilometers per hour when it reached the water. Then, of course, it tips over when they let it fall into the water. Maybe that's the case. I didn't notice that myself, but I don't want to draw conclusions beyond my amateur level of knowledge. But maybe that's what happened. Maybe we'll get more details from SpaceX later. No, I'm not covering Starliner today. Look, you can find the Starliner coverage online. We're not a space channel. We're a breaking news channel. We cover certain space things, but I'm not covering the Starliner rendezvous with the space station. I mean, the Crew Dragon is already rendezvoused with the space station. So it's not really what we do here. But you can find live coverage online of the Boeing Starliner docking with the International Space Station. Kazibolt said earlier, those heat tiles are definitely being put to the test. I'm guessing it is the equivalent of a welder or plasma gun cutting through a steel door. Maybe a lot more. I don't know the numbers of those of the heat, but extreme heat and pressure, I would assume. John Turpin says you would think they had a support ship in the ocean to video record the landing. It's a good question. Do they have some kind of video of the landing? Does it land right near where they anticipated, or, it's Indian Ocean. So I don't know if they can pinpoint in advance where to put cameras in the ocean. Do they have that kind of, accuracy on being able to tell where it's going to splash down to be able to get a boat there? I don't know. It's a good question. Yeah, Sicilian says, is there video of the Indian Ocean landing? So they would need to be able to, in advance, know where it's going to land pretty precisely. I don't know if they know that. Maybe they do, but I just don't know. I didn't hear anything about that. Thanks, Stevie Yagi, by the way. Stevie Yagi says, it's so crazy. I live in Western Australia and it splashed down near where we always go on holiday. Thanks also, Purple Cat Audio says, I hope they can recover the ship somehow. Wealth of data beyond telemetry is out there. They said repeatedly during the broadcast they're not recovering the ship. So, will they? I mean, could they try to? Beats me. Slopperson thinks the telemetry data is what they wanted. They don't need to examine the rocket. They eventually want to land it, I believe, on like a where they're going to have like a stand and an arm, and they want to land it on the stand. Let me see if I can find something about that. I was reading something about that earlier. Let's see here. Blah, 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 blah. I'm trying to find it. I mean, in theory, it could land at different places, right? It could land different places. But I believe there's a plan to have it land. There's an animation on the Wikipedia page for Starship of it doing a landing on mechanical arms. But, they talk about it also landing on a floating platform. Dark Cloud says, land it back where it took off from, refuel, and go again. Middleton says, launch tower is the catch tower. And I know they say with the spacecraft, Wikipedia says that under the forward flaps, hard points are used for lifting and catching the spacecraft via mechanical arms. John 1948 says the launch platform has the chopstick arms to catch it again. Very cool. Yeah, and the New York Times in an article today said that SpaceX basically is trying to make this spacecraft rapidly reusable, capable of both the rocket booster and the spacecraft. They want both of them to be able to be used over and over again rapidly, in contrast to single launch throwaway rockets that have been used for most of the space age. And they say that it has the potential, the reusability has the potential to really drive down the cost of launching satellites, telescopes, people, and things they need to live in space. I'll read a few more comments here. How much data will be retrieved, says Excessive Fours? Well, I mean, I'm sure it sounds like they were taking in data the whole time. So probably a lot more than we saw, in real time. So it sounds like they were happy with the data they got. I mean, you heard they kept saying it on the stream that they had gotten all this valuable data. Beryl Kubler said history made. I don't know the specifics, though. Now, according to Wikipedia, they say the next test flight is supposed to be, where is it here? Later June 2024. Okay, so Wikipedia says in April of this year, Elon Musk said test flight 5 would involve a catch of the super heavy booster on the tower if the splashdown of the booster today was successful. And I believe the splashdown of the booster today was successful. So in theory, the next test flight, which might be at the end of this month, might be in a few weeks, although I don't know that. But in theory, the next test flight, we could see the booster rocket actually landing at the launch tower, which would be really cool to see. Jack's Animals, our viewer, says, eventually these boosters will land successfully as the Falcon 9 boosters do now. Never gets old seeing the Falcon 9 boosters return and land with pinpoint accuracy on a drone ship or on land time after time. Oh, thanks to Purple Cat Audio, by the way. Purple Cat Audio says, I hope they can recover the ship somehow. Wealth of data beyond telemetry is out there. I might have read that already, but thank you. Incredible. Let me just see if they're posting anything on their social media. But that was pretty incredible to see. Technology is amazing. Yeah, that's 2 launches in 2 days. Yesterday we covered the first manned test launch of the Boeing Starliner spacecraft, which is supposed to dock with the International Space Station today. And that is supposed to be the second craft available to bring NASA astronauts to the space station. And we covered that yesterday, and today we covered this test flight for SpaceX, the SpaceX Starship. Scott Manley, space expert, I would say, says it looked like the penetration of hot gases into the hinge of the flap is something they'll need to work on for future flights. And Jonathan McDowell, who is a space expert, He said Starship splashed down in Indian Ocean, mostly intact, with landing burn just before splashdown. The Cigar Life says we're living in amazing times. Yeah, I don't have a date for the next SpaceX launch. Again, Wikipedia says late June. So I don't have a date for it myself. Anthony Pedregal says, so the booster landed but then tipped over into the sea. Yeah, there was no actual platform for the booster to land on. It was a virtual platform. They were basically just seeing if they could bring it down in a controlled way, as I understand it. So again, there was nothing to land it on. I think they were just, that they just meant to bring it down over the water. So it looked like the land and sounded like the landing went fine, and they brought it down like they wanted to, and then it just tipped over. Oh, also, I missed this. One of our viewers just mentioned this. Elon Musk 9 minutes ago said on X, despite loss of many tiles and a damaged flap, Starship made it all the way to a soft landing in the ocean. Congratulations, SpaceX team, on an epic achievement. There you go. Aleppo Gambit says we have come a long way since Sputnik. All right. Well, that was cool. That was really neat to see. As we don't cover every space launch here, but certainly the ones that are particularly interesting, I think, or mark some kind of significant advance or noteworthy, we cover those as long as I have footage. So I certainly anticipate covering more launches. Is there footage of the Indian Ocean landing? Not public footage. Is there any private footage? I don't know, but nothing I've seen publicly. John 1948 believes that was an outright success for this testing prototype. Step up, next one. Chris McVeigh says it was a water landing and it was supposed to tip over. They say they're not going to recover it, but it floats. I don't know how long it'll float for. That I don't know. Assuming it's true that it floats, which a bunch of our viewers said. All right, guys, that was a lot of fun to watch that with you. That was really cool. I think we're going to start wrapping up this live stream, but that was really neat. Wow, 2 days of really cool space launches. Man, we could start, I guess by 2026, this craft could start taking people to the moon. Maybe in a couple of years, we'll be covering these live moon missions. But anyways, I will have to see what happens. I really appreciate you guys being here and posting in the chat and watching. And a lot of you who know a lot about this stuff, sending me, giving updates and helping me figure out what's going on. I really appreciate that. Again, if there's more news to come, whatever there's big breaking news, we cover it here. Live, agenda-free TV, we cover all kinds of live breaking news without an agenda here. So subscribe to and follow this channel, Agenda-Free TV. And I will post updates about this or other breaking news on my X account, which is @Lookner on X. Oops, there it is. It's not there. It's right there. It's right there. There it is. @Lookner on X is where you can follow me for breaking news updates when I'm not on the air. Hey, let's shout out our moderators. They are the ones that allow us to have a chat, and the chat is such a huge part of our channel. So I really appreciate our moderators for being here today. We've had a bunch of moderators in and out. BZ, Ruth Krafasi over there on YouTube. I know Danny James was there. The other moderators, Kinetic, I thanked earlier. Thanks to all of our YouTube moderators. Linda Belk and Larry moderate for us on X. Over there on Facebook, Margaret Riley, Kay Lowry Body there. Any other ones I might have missed today? Big thanks. And our Twitch moderators, Big Ball of Yarn, David Green, Idaho Star. I Got That Fire, Papa Bear, Sarah, Surly Dev, and all of our other Twitch moderators. Thank you. Really appreciate all of our moderators. Thank you so much. Thanks to everybody who donated today, too. That's really nice of you. You are the ones who keep this channel on the air with your support. So I really appreciate your support for the channel. If you ever want to donate, you go to agendafree.tv, agendafree.tv. But big shout out to you. Thanks also to Jack's Animals for subscribing on Twitch. And hopefully I got everybody. I think I got everybody. But thank you. Oh, did I get Kristen Gates? Hopefully I did. Let's see here. By the way, you know, I never know when big news is going to happen. We can really come on the air at any time. So a really great way to find out when we're going live is to sign up for our free notifications. We've created our own notification system. It works awesome. It's free. You sign up once, you get sent a message every time we go live right before to let you know there's big breaking news that we're about to cover. The mods will post the link to the notifications in the chat. Sign up for the free notifications. And also you can find that link at the description of this broadcast on Facebook and YouTube. And also, at the same link, you can check out our Discord chat where you can chat with other viewers when we're not on the air, which is what a lot of viewers like to do that. So check out the Discord chat. Big thanks to our Discord mods, by the way. And John Attard says the Discord works perfect. If anybody's any interested in being a volunteer moderator, that'd be fantastic. Sometimes there's a wait list, but you can ask our mods for more information about that. Quick reminder for those who subscribe on YouTube, if you want to get the YouTube notifications, there's this kind of funky thing you need to do, which is you have to click the notifications bell and choose all notifications. So if you do subscribe on YouTube, click this bell right here and choose all notifications. Another reminder, I do have a personal channel where I sometimes do some non-news live streaming. That is called Lookner on YouTube and Look Nerd with a D on Twitch. So if you want to see some non-news live streams, check out Lookner and Look Nerd channels. And I want to say thanks to our Twitch subscribers. Thanks so much for your support over there, like Shaggy, Annie Cush, I Got That Fire, Unleash Flute, Wall Street, Kurushi KG, Integrity Farmer Bob, Sarah, Jack's Animals. Thanks to all of our Twitch subscribers. Blue Pip, and all of our other Twitch subscribers. Thank you for subscribing there. Thanks to our Facebook subscribers, even though we're having these huge issues with Facebook that they have not fixed yet with the subscriber badges. But I really appreciate all of our subscribers over there. I'm going to be writing to them again today to try to get this fixed. But thanks to all of our Facebook subscribers. Again, I am on it. I really appreciate it. And thanks to our YouTube members as well. Big shout out to you. Like Orla Connolly, Evelyn in Maine, UV Lightning, The Ringa X, Amra, Buffalo Women, Jimmy ZNJ, Amy, JK Sinar, Janet Burnett, Marissa Pugliese, John Attard, Doug Cahill, Strange and Scary New England, Ed Weeby, T-Sky. Thanks for being members on YouTube. Paula Faust, Rob G, Lunali Syria, Jack Ball TV, Linda Forsyth, Chris N, Bath Chakama, Papa Steve, Riff X, Jane Jones, Excessive Fours, Aleppo Gambit, Purple Cat Audio, Darth Pronator, the one and only Megatron. Thanks for being members over there. Chris N. Thanks The Ringa for gifting a membership. and our new member, Warflare. Thanks, Ringa. And all of our other members, too. All right, guys. Rick Hoppy as well. Thanks, Rick. 'Tis what it is. All right, guys. Oh, did Elon post again? Somebody said? Hang on a second here. No, I already read his update when he said 18 minutes ago, despite the loss of many tiles and of damaged flaps, Starship made it all the way to a soft landing in the ocean. Yeah, we read that earlier. Read it earlier. All right, we're going to wrap this up. We're going to wrap this up. So again, thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Janet Jude Peck, Sharon K. Johnson, Paula Thompson, just to name a few more. Really appreciate you all checking out the broadcast. Thanks to our subscriber, Flaps15. And Mary DeFiore. Thanks for watching. Yvonne McMillan, and others. All right, wrapping it up. If there's big news later today, we will come on and cover it. But that is it for now. Thank you so much for joining our live coverage of the SpaceX Starship test flight. It was really neat to see. And we will see you soon with more live breaking news coverage right here at Agenda Free TV.